the one he hates.
Welcome to the Redeye stream number 247. Sovereign citizens. Oh, I'm sure you guys were wondering when my libertarian ass would get to this subject. Well, today is the day. What's up, Cabby? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. Thank you very much for asking. And you good self?
Well, I'm good. Are you a sovereign citizen, Cabby? Or are you under the
He's a citizen of the sovereign. No, he's a citizen of the sovereignty.
That's right. Yeah. I'm a subject technically. I think. Does that still apply? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm also joined here by Farty, our drop bear fucking expert, and of course Quinn, who eats what the drop bears leave over. How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm not waiting on a phone call today, so I can drink early. Yay!
All right, so hopefully we'll be joined by 40 ounce later. Maybe MC. I'm sure he would love to talk about this. But all right, are these people just batshit crazy? Are they domestic terrorists like the FBI and the SPLC would like you to believe, or do they kind of have a fucking point? We'll start with you, Cabby. You never have too little to say.
Fuck you. That was a backhanded compliment, if ever I heard one. Well, like the idea seemed to have appeared in, well, it's bounced around quite a while. But the idea of every man's home is his castle, I think, is where it really stems from. You know, the idea that you are lord and master of your own domain, that kind of thing. And it appeals to a lot of people. You know, it sounds like a good idea. Unfortunately, it does forget things like the, social contract. The unwritten social contract that societies have.
Well, and that's a question I have. Right there. That's a question I have for you guys. Is this a libertarian movement? At first glance, it looks like it is. It looks very ANCAP. It looks very, anarcho-capitalist. Then on second glance, not really. Okay, so one of the methods they do is they flood a local office with legal paperwork over like a dog licensing fee. Is that something a libertarian would do? That's kind of violating the non-aggression principle, especially if you're deliberately sending in documents that you know are going to be thrown out just to gum up the works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a great way of identifying yourself, isn't it? The government can now identify the radicals.
Yeah, well, personally, like just from what I've seen off of YouTube, that mainly they're driving down the road and stuff like that. They have this attitude that, like, the laws apply to everybody else but them, and the cops can't do anything to them. But at their beck and call, the cops should fucking bow to their wills and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like AMCAP.
Yeah, we did have an instance on a highway patrol TV show from Australia where some dickhead decided he was going to try and pull that sovereign citizen crap and use maritime law as his excuse. And the cops just like, yeah, no, you're on, mate. Yeah, you're on land, sunshine. But yeah, it does also seem to me that there are people who are pseudo intellectuals who do think they're smart and decide to go and argue with dumb fucking cops. Like you got like the classic example is like there's the usual one. They're driving down the road. It's okay. So is this your vehicle, or you're driving this vehicle? Is it illegal? But I'm only traveling. I'm not driving. It's, oh, for fuck's sake, dickhead, stop being semantic.
Yeah.
No, what law is written that way though. Words have meanings, do they not?
Well, yeah, but you don't know the legal definitions as they apply, because the legal definitions of words is not necessarily the vernacular that we might use,
See, well, no,
they're very, very tied down. That's why you have a law dictionary.
There is an argument to be made when it comes to the driver's license issue, because you never had to have a horse's license, did you, Cabby? Huh? You needed a license to ride your horse?
I don't know, probably. Wouldn't put it past them.
Well, you definitely would nowadays. Oh, fuck. Especially in Britain. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, they'd tax it by the hoof.
Well, actually, I think you'll probably find that the guys who do the horse and carriage rides through Central Park in New York and all that have to have a license of some form or fashion, especially for insurance purposes.
You see, then people get around it and start using chickens.
But that's part of the reason why, you know, you have to have a license is
turkeys.
You know, it's part of the reason why you have to have a license is also for your insurance purposes. I mean, like you wouldn't let someone who's unqualified operate a piece of heavy machinery, and no one would insure that person if indeed they had an accident. It's the same reason, like in England, like if you don't have a license or you don't have valid insurance or something like that, they cancel your rego and they cancel your license at the same time. Because, well, if you don't have insurance, you don't have your license, well, then you're not qualified to drive. And if you hit somebody else, well, then that puts them out of, you know, potentially thousands of dollars to get their own car repaired.
Mm-hmm. Well, then they have to sue you in civil court, and it's all a big pain in the ass for the person who's trying to get the money for the, you know.
Well,
and,
no, we're
car
gonna. Should I get to that part? Okay, I'll get to that part. Let's see here. We'll start with the SPLC because you know we love them. They're fucking amazing. Southern Poverty Law Center. Fucking hell. All right, you guys continue while I get this loaded up. I'm gonna screen share.
Oh, well, I was going to say that Robert Maynard guy as well. A lot of the stuff that he was talking about. I mean, this is exactly the materials. There's nothing particularly that, like everything that is within the sovereign citizen stuff is part of what like under the canopy of what he created. It's very strange, especially considering he's a Canadian. I mean, what the fuck a Canadian is doing, you know, educating Americans into sovereign citizenship, and especially that bullshit about, you know, your birth certificate is a bank account.
Yeah,
that kind of nonsense. That all came out of that guy's mouth.
Yeah, well, I've also heard some sovereign citizens refer to the something of Canada. They're a part of they're a free citizen of the territory of Canada or something like that.
Inuits.
Show me on a map where that is, asshole. And it's both Canadians and Americans who have both said that too. So it's sort of kind of like, okay, what do you think you're like the fucking the Peshmerga trying to get your own fucking autonomous state or some shit like that? What the fuck's wrong with you?
What do you mean what's wrong with you? Why aren't you able to be autonomous within a system? I thought if you don't consent to be governed, then you can't be governed, at least in the United States.
Well, that was the point I was making, Matt, is that the thing that the social, you know, like the social contract is not included within the idea of like ANCAP or the sovereign citizen. But there is a social, you know, contract which is established that people generally understand as you know, trying to avoid fucking each other over. And that's the general principle behind it, you know. So, but they want to say, well, I can fuck you over just because, you know, power is might, that kind of thing. And that's where it goes kind of awry.
Well, no, I'm going to let you guys continue. I just want to read this part right here, word for word. This is, once again, Southern Poverty Law Center. Take it with a grain of salt. The movement is rooted in racism and anti-Semitism. I would like to see how, cite some evidence. But anyway, though most sovereigns, many of whom are African-American, are unaware of their beliefs' origins, you know, because they're too stupid to know what they believe in.
Silly black man.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. Okay, no, and I'm going to stop right there. This is a type of talking out of both sides of their fucking mouths that the SPLC does, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I got back. That's going back to where I said, you know, they have the opinion that the laws don't apply to them, but the police should do as they're beck and called for fucking...
No, see, this is the SPLC saying that the sovereign citizens are domestic terrorists. This right here is making me want to be a sovereign citizen. They're doing the opposite of what they're trying to do because they're saying bullshit. Like, seriously, they're talking bullshit here. Go ahead and continue. I cut you off.
Yeah, mainly the videos that I have seen about the sovereign citizens, they're usually the traffic stop ones. And it's usually a case of, why'd you pull me over for? And the cop's like, because you were doing 70 in a 40 zone. It's like, yeah, but I'm allowed to do that. They have this attitude that they're allowed to break any laws under the sun and all this, and the cops can't do anything to them or anything like that. But I bet you $10 if you grab one of these cocksuckers by the scruff of the neck and said, right, I'm going to punch the fuck out of you, they'd be screaming for the police straight away.
Well, no, and I would like to know when they're going to cite any evidence here because, all right, where is it? Most early sovereigns, and some of those who are still on the scene, believed that being white was a prerequisite to becoming a sovereign citizen. They argued that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which guaranteed citizenship to African Americans and everyone else born on United States soil, also made Black Americans permanently subject to federal and state governments, unlike themselves. No citation on who they are. Who is they?
Well, the original founders, I guess. It's got to be, right?
Well,
but there's
mate,
no...
from what's been explained, like in what I gleaned from these videos, is it's the
if you weren't on the
general,
Mayflower,
the government,
you're fucked.
Yeah, it's the government in general, and the only person that could, tell them what to do basically is the local elected sheriff, which doesn't exist in most places. But yeah, it's mainly their contract with the government. When you're born, your birth certificate is a contract with the government, and then they can do something with it. I don't know. That's where it gets a bit grey.
Well, no, and this is where it jumps from the deep end off a fucking waterfall. Okay. The contemporary sovereign belief system is based on a decades-old conspiracy theory. At some point in history, sovereigns believe the American government set up by the founding fathers with a legal system that sovereigns refer to as common law was secretly replaced by a new government system based on admiralty law, the law of the sea, and international commerce. Under common law, or so they believe, the sovereigns would be free men. Under admiralty law, they are slaves, and secret government forces have a vested interest in keeping them that way. Some sovereigns believe this. Wait, real quick. Some sovereigns believe this change occurred during the Civil War, while others blame the events of 1933 when the U.S. abandoned the gold standard. Either way, they stake their lives and livelihoods on the idea that judges around the country know all about this hidden government takeover, but are denying the sovereign's motions and filings out of treasonous loyalty to hidden and maleficent, hidden and evil government forces. Go ahead, Farty. Fuck.
Okay,
hell.
So there's one term that you use there, free men, and all this kind of stuff. You see, that kind of denotes that you had to be a slave first. I mean, like we've got an Australian Olympic runner, Kathy Freeman, and the whole point of her last name is she's Aboriginal, like black as a nigger's ass at midnight, Aboriginal, full blood, and her name denotes that, like, at one point in time, her family were slaves. You have a look at Freetown in Sierra Leone. That was a place, the city designed exactly for free slaves. So to be a free man, first you had to be a slave. That's the Commonwealth sort of recognition of it. Anyway.
It's the same thing as being a serf. You know, you can come up from serfdom. So, because you had like workhouses and things like that, where it was effectively indentured servitude. It weren't called slaves technically, you know. But arose by the name.
This shit is weird. I'm gonna skip. Okay, a secret treasury amount. Okay, so when a baby's born and gets a birth certificate and a social security number, sovereigns say that the government then uses that birth certificate to set up a kind of corporate trust in the baby's name, a secret treasury account, which it funds with an amount ranging from 600,000 to 20 million. That's a big difference. Just saying. Depending on the particular variant of the sovereign belief system. By setting up this account, every newborn's rights are cleverly split between those held by the flesh and blood baby and the ones assigned to his or her corporate shell account.
Easily. Yeah, well, this is where it's gone a bit far. I mean, at least with Maynard, it was pretty much just they create like every person's worth $1 million or whatever it is, you know, the current going rate, you know, and then that gives ability for the government to leverage your future potential, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, that's what they talk about. But I mean, this idea they start putting it in that it's variable depending on the spiritual value of the fucking individual bollocks. I mean, that you see, that's something you just go kind of like nutso onto the spirit, you know, the Christian band, I guess.
Well, I can see in a semi-welfare state that kind of a thing would be something that a government would look at. I mean, if there's like a semi-welfare state, like in Australia again, you can be on the dole for your entire life. Whereas in America, I believe you're on welfare for like 6 months and then they boot you off and you've got to get a job or something like that. If if you're born in a state that has taxes and all that kind of stuff, you're expected to go through schooling and get an education and then go off and work and pay your taxes, and you're basically paying into the government. Whereas if you basically don't really go to school, and you can go to school because there's government schools, the government's paying for that. And then if you don't get a job, well, then the government's basically paying you a living or semi-living wage for however long you're not working. Now, that kind of a thing, I can see where they got a point there. But like I said, in America...
I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I mean, in terms of how governments finance themselves and the way that they structure their finances. But the idea that it's your account, I mean, the government's basically, in that case, they ponied up for your, like you say, the education, potential health costs and things like that. They've done an actuary test to say, well, potentially this could cost the taxpayer this much money. So therefore we allocate an amount of debt to that person. So, because the only thing that government can create is debt. So they're just, even when they say that they're creating a bank account, it's only debt that they're creating, right?
Yeah, and then you have a look at Greece, for example. They've lowered the retirement age and all this kind of stuff, and still have full pensions for their old farts, and they've gone broke because of it, because their population grew and no cunts working. There's no taxes going in to pay for the retirement.
There's not a lot of money in olive oil.
Or antipesto.
Yeah, I mean it's good, but it's not a way to build an economy.
That's their fault for making small portions.
All right, so Jensen, okay. Usually we do conspiracies on Saturdays, which we're still gonna do. But okay, what do you think about that crazy ass fucking conspiracy?
I'm telling you, man. I think the ultimate conspiracy is a way of identifying radicals. It's like getting people to register their guns, so you know who's got guns. You get people to sign up for the sovereign citizenship and things like that. You got a whole bunch of, say, CIA or NSA people working in the background, pretending to be these people and just picking up their names. I mean, it's kind of like that. What happened with Ruby Ridge, right? The FBI.
Well, that's not even a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. When we get to the FBI webpage, it shows how they were infiltrating small pockets of these people and doing, encouraging them to buy illegal weapons and then busting them with them. That's exactly what they did at Ruby Ridge.
So that's what I mean. It's a perfect way of identifying anyone who's a radical. So, it serves its purpose if you think about it. And the people are too stupid to realize that all they're doing is, basically fessing up.
Okay, so I'm not necessarily sure that sovereign citizens believe all the bullshit SPL, Southern Poverty Law Center is saying they believe.
They don't.
Yeah, most people just think it's going to be a way out of a way of getting out of something. That's what it's a sort of a desperate measure. Another
example of where I said that they think that the laws don't apply to them is that there's this famous bit of footage, you can look it up on YouTube, where this guy decides he wants to bring a camera into court. Now, even out here, you're not allowed to bring cameras into a courtroom and all this kind of stuff, unless it's a special circumstance like the Michael Jackson trial or something like that. And there's two what would you guys call them? Let's say the sheriffs, basically in suits, and they're like, "Nah, dude, you're not coming in with a camera." And he's like, he starts going on with his sovereign citizen bullshit. But under fucking blah blah law, I'm allowed to do whatever, and you can't fucking stop me. And they're like, "Yeah, you're still not coming in." And this goes back and forwards a couple of times, and it's like, "No, dude, you're not coming in with the camera. Turn the camera off and leave it behind." No. And then the guy just pulls out his taser, and it's like, "I'm fucking sick of this shit." It's like, "Well, what, you gonna tase me now?" It's like, "Fucking oath I
am." No bluffing.
That's fucked over a camera. Anyway, all right. So the next argument, the Southern Poverty Law Center is trying to say is either people they go to a seminar or two, or they look on one of thousands of websites. First off, bullshit on the thousands of websites. I did a web search for today's show. Oh,
Yeah,
I
but
can
the
find
meat filtered out, mate.
Oh,
You used to see loads of them. You used to see loads of them. They've all disappeared off Google.
I did DuckDuckGo as well.
Well, you need to go down the mine hole, you know, like into one of the archive sites to find a lot of the stuff that used to be out there. But they're literally at one point back in the 2000s, you know, early 2000s, there was a bunch of them. They were all over the place.
Well, it seems to me that they're trying to lump in libertarians with the crazy fringe, which of course
Oh,
there
yeah.
are the crazy fringe. But they're saying they go to a couple seminars, they you know, look on a website. Next thing you know, they don't want to pay their fucking taxes and they're driving without a license, doing all sorts of crazy shit. A cop pulls them over, they're shooting them in the face. Whoa, whoa, whoa! That's a big jump. How'd we get from A to B?
MADDS, don't forget, some people have made a lot of money out of it too. You know, by sending people information packs and things, you know, that are worthless, and they end up paying $1,000 for this stuff that's going to make them free,
and then end up going to jail for it.
No,
but like, I haven't heard the shooting in the face kind of stuff, shooting coppers in the face kind of things. But like, yeah, no, like most of them, like I said, are traffic stops, and they're arguing the point over like, you know, fucking, I don't have to show you my license, well, because you probably don't have one. I don't need to show you my insurance because you probably don't have it. And why did you pull me over? Because you were doing 30 over. And oh well, I'm not driving. I'm traveling. You're behind the steering wheel. You're in control of a vehicle. That's the definition of driving. But I'm traveling and you're impeding my travel and so, oh, would you stop fucking arguing, you dickhead? You're just making this worse for yourself.
Yeah. MC's in the chat. He says, but taxation is theft, Mad Dodge. We're gonna get to that, buddy. We're gonna get there because that's where I kind of tend to side with them.
Well, he should come to Australia so he doesn't have to pay the pink tax anymore.
But you don't just jump from A to Z like that. You don't go from I don't want to pay for a fishing license to, you know what, I'm going to shoot a cop in the face because I'm a sovereign citizen. Whoa, what the fuck?
But like, yeah, well, a fishing license is something that, you know, like it does help out with like conservation of, you know, if you want to go fishing 10 years from now, well, the reason why every cunt's got a license now so they don't fish out everywhere. It's like going back to Sierra Leone. It was exactly the reason why I helped prevent piracy there, because the Chinese were coming out and they were fishing out the coastline, and all the fishermen, the locals, couldn't even fucking catch enough fish to feed themselves and their crew, let alone their fucking village, let alone sell. And fucking that was a part where they could have gone the same way as Somalia, where they've just gone, well, we can't catch any fish, but an AK-47 is 50 cents Australian, and we can make that, so let's go take a container ship.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch from, you know, sovereign citizen to piracy and
but no, like, you know,
the Indian Ocean.
But the local yank in his little town and all this kind of stuff. You want to go out to your little lake and go for a fish? Well, okay, don't fish the fucking shit out, or else you won't have any fish in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my son was trying to get into stuff, so I kind of missed a little bit of what you guys were saying. But no, and I think the whole idea of being sovereign is the idea that you're governed by your consent. So if you do not consent, then they have no right to govern over you. MC would say, well, then leave the fucking country. Well, if you're born within this territorial landmass, you can't necessarily move to another landmass without a passport or without money or a visa or anything like that. So that argument's kind of void, isn't it?
Sure, you can cash in your birth certificate.
Absolutely. Like, you have a look at the Muslims that move out to Australia. I mean, we've had a few cases already where they just say, well, we run under Sharia law and your laws don't fucking mean diddly shit to us, and we're allowed to go off and beat our fucking daughters for fucking underage and our son for fucking drinking. You know, we can honor kill fucking our daughter because she got raped or something like that. She was seen with 2 other blokes. Yeah, all fucking, yeah. No. The laws in the area, the laws for a reason, and you follow the laws. No one fucking interfere with you. But you go around saying that you're specific bullshit fucking trumps the laws in the area, then you shouldn't have the right to call the cops later on when someone grabs you by the scruff of the neck and starts beating the shit out of you.
And the thing is,
I mean, don't call the cops then. Defend yourself.
Yeah, but MADDS, the thing is, right, it's sort of like this idea that people grow up without realizing that there is this social contract, that there are these, you know, that this is how society operates. Now, whether or not you bring in the institutions to that, but there are, you know, reasons why you would contribute, like roads, you know, roads, just to make life viable.
Okay, you're gonna bring up the fucking roads. I'm gonna fucking flip the gasket. Right. How many different times do you have to pay for the same fucking road? How many taxes do you need for this goddamn road? Anyway.
The same amount as you would need if you were doing it through another company, you know, like doing it through a company and they
have more profits.
No, that's bullshit. No, really? Why? Why is it?
I'll tell you why.
Got magic roads?
Trying to tell you why. Lottery tax, some of that goes to help build the roads. Your state taxes goes to help build the roads. Your fucking local taxes goes to help pay for roads. Your property tax helps pay for roads. Yeah, exactly. And then they add a goddamn fucking gas tax on top of it to pay for the same road you paid for 4 times already.
Yeah, well, roads aren't cheap, and there's lots of them.
And then, Cabby, they don't fix the fucking road. There's still potholes everywhere. You need dominoes to fix that shit. I'm done. I'm muting myself. Fuck you, Cabby.
Triggered.
Getting back to the Muzzo statement I made before out here, it is the same thing there. If you don't like our laws, you want Sharia law, fuck off back to a country where they got Sharia law. But we're not allowed to say that shit anymore out here because, oh, that's racist.
Yeah, well.
Carl in the chat says, the laws of entropy apply to this universe at Mad Dodge. Those roads erode. Yeah. And you don't need to pay for them 5 times every fucking year. How fast are they eroding? There's still Roman roads in London. Fuck off.
There are.
Okay.
There are roads over the top of the roads that used to be there, but that's just purely historical. They're not the same roads, yeah. They're not still using the same fucking cobbles.
Yeah, but Hadrian's Wall is still there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, have you seen it? It's hardly impressive. I went there once. I really thought it was going to be like the Great Wall of China. It was fucking real disappointment.
But
I had a bigger wall in my bloody backyard.
But people were a lot shorter back in those days.
Well, I don't care. I mean, the Scots were, what were they? Fucking, it's like something out of Michael Bentine's Potty Time or something.
I love that fucking scene in fucking Blackadder's Christmas special where he goes back in time and then there's a Roman standing at Hadrian's Wall and then one of them turns to the emperor and says, "Oh, there's a giant red hedge coming towards us." That's not a red hedge, they're Scots.
Yeah.
Well, Hadrian's Wall was a lot bigger, Cabby, but you stealing Englishmen fucking tore it apart to build your shitty houses.
No, what do you mean? No, and well, actually, that is true because the house.
I was gonna say, don't argue that with me.
Yeah, because there's a place where I grew up when I was a kid, and one of the pigsties actually had stones in it that came from some building that had been excavated, some old Roman ruins or whatever, and that had basically Roman graffiti on it.
But he is right in one aspect, like all the roads in London pretty much are basically built over the top of Roman roads and stuff like that. There's a reason why
why it's such a mess.
Yeah, it's why London looks the way it does.
Yeah. And after the Great Fire of London, they were planning on, making it more like sort of Paris, or the sort of American idea with the grid system and stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually it's, fuck it, just make it back as it was.
But then you also had things like, the original London Bridge where like you had several different levels because people who were squatting decided to make little hovels and stuff, and you had this sort of underworld under the bridge where it was several different suburbs just like stacked on top of each other.
Oh yeah, well, London Bridge itself was it was an entire marketplace. It could take you an hour to get across the thing because of all the the business that was going on it. The people were living there, like you say, above their shops and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't really a bridge as such. It was more like a pontoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, we should go back to something like that. Give it a bit of character again.
Well, they used to have it in oh fuck, where was it? Thailand, I think it was. No, where was that place that they used to have back in the 70s where the aeroplanes had to weave between the buildings? It's in Asia somewhere. The Kuala Lung.
Oh no, yeah, no, it's Hong Kong, mate. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Hong
come
Kong.
into Hong Kong,
Yeah.
you're literally flying right past people's bedroom windows.
Oh, it's
You can
different
wave to
now.
them as you're.
It's different now because they
like
made it. It's different now because they made a new airport just off the coast. But yeah, back in the day, yeah, and it came over the Kuala Lung city, which was just basically about 7 or 8 city blocks, and it had like about 3 million people living in there. Like you could live your entire life in that little 4-kilometer square fucking thing, and never see the light of day.
Yeah, well, that's China. Well, you know, the Chinese do like to pack them in.
Well, you guys
yeah.
have mentioned it a couple times before we get to the FBI website. All you really see of these people nowadays is the crazies on YouTube, right? The people wigging out, and the cop body cam footage and all that shit, right? Why is that?
Well,
because
because
the internet.
Why don't you have anybody? Why don't you have? Well, okay, the reason I said why is that is you have just the videos of people going crazy. Where are the people actually with sensible arguments in favor of the? Where's the ANCAPs at? You would think the ANCAPs would be all over the sovereign citizen movement.
That's the problem, you see, Mad, because if you were to be actually sensible and you say, I declare myself a sovereign citizen, you can't arrest me because of XYZ, and they say, well, actually I can, it's within my jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd have to say, oh, well, okay then. And then they get into the police car and they get driven away. There wouldn't be anything to film, would there?
Well, I've also seen the court end of it too. There was one district court, and this one judge is on YouTube quite a bit, where there was one where some girl was picked up. I can't remember exactly for what, but she basically, once she was sentenced, she gave the judge the finger, and he's like, "Wait, hang on, no, come back here. What was that?" And then she's like, "Oh no, I was scratching my nose," and it's like, "Well, that's another 90 days. Now, fuck off." And then as she turned away, she mouthed something, and he's like, "Hang on, wait, what was that? Come back here." That's another 90 days. And it was that thing from the Breakfast Club. It was like, well, that's 6 weeks. Now that's you're in there for the rest of your life. Kind of fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
But I've seen a sovereign citizen actually try and have a tete-a-tete with this particular judge, and it was basically a 20-minute video just to try and ascertain this fuckwit's name. well, my name isn't this because of the social construct, but I go, okay, so you are some, but no, I'm not a someone. I'm a person.
It's like these people who identify as trans something. It's like, well, trying to get the fucking pronoun right. It does get ridiculous.
Yeah, it did get down to like, is he a person or is he an entity? Is this the entity person slash corporate slash this slash this slash that? But
is it in capitals? Don't forget, it's whether or not it's in all in capitals, or whether it's capitalized with the first the first letter, or is it all in small characters? And so, of course, that makes all the difference in law.
Yeah, well, this judge
this
judge was just playing this cunt's name. He was like, okay, so are you such and such? No, I am an entity. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, am I speaking to the entity of? Well, I'm part of a corporation of the. Okay, am I speaking to the person slash individual slash
I'm representing the corporation that is identified as? Yeah, I've seen all that bullshit.
Yeah,
it's the same thing every time. Well, we have the same thing over here, though. I mean, well, you have it in Australia too. Like the Freeman movement. That does exist. These wackos. By the way, MADDS. This is not just a US thing. Yeah. It's because the whole point is it's common law. So any country like New Zealand or Canada and everywhere else, this is where all this sort of bollocks came from. Was based on this idea that it's common law. And so by common law standards, and then they go back to some ancient fucking script and so, you know, claim that something is still valid, even though it's been overridden by, you know, a dozen different parliamentary approvals. But they don't accept that and say, yeah, but once in history it said this. Like, yeah, it did back then, but it doesn't now.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Well, real quick. This is back to the SPLC. The weapon of choice for sovereign citizens is paper. A simple traffic violation or pet licensing case can end up provoking dozens of court filings containing hundreds of pages of pseudo-legal nonsense. For example, a sovereign was involved in 2010 in a protracted legal battle over having to pay a dog licensing fee. She filed 10 sovereign documents in court over a 2-month period, then declared victory when the harried prosecutor decided to drop the case. Well, that is a victory, right? Well, she played their game. Okay, lawyers do this all the time in a criminal case. They're like,
it's a technical
one document defense. Here you go. Here's boxes. Here's everything we have.
Well, I know where you're going with this, and I can kind of elaborate a little bit more. It's legal precedent and stuff like that. So, if, say, for instance, there was an aged care nurse who was doing a Dr. Kevorkian. He killed 3 people, but he got 10 years per person he killed. Well, then I could argue that my mate who only stabbed 1 person should only get 10 years because you've already set that legal precedent, and bring up a whole bunch of other cases. That's what lawyers do quite a lot. And I can also sort of throw a sovereign citizen argument in the mix, whereas, like, the only reason why I exist is because the fuckwit community. I always have been a person that's outside the community, and when they fuck up, I come in, I fix things, and I'm a universal fan cleaner. I clean the shit off the fan when it hits it. So when the police talk about, someone coming forward or someone helping out and assisting, they talk about a member of the public. So I am not a fucking citizen. I'm not a member of the community. I'm a member of the public. So I feel that I am elevated in some sort of formal fashion because I am not those useless fuckwits that they always talk about being the victim. I'm usually the person that comes forward or is already there handling the situation before they rock up. I can see where the sovereign citizens do it, but they're useless. They don't do half the shit that I do, so they can't see themselves in the same boat as me.
Well, no, and I'll sum up what it goes on to say. Okay, the dog licensing fee was only $20. It does explain that. And then it goes on to say that this is a form of paper terrorism. They're clogging up the system so bad that it just ceases to function. That's not terrorism, though. Paper terrorism? Cabby, come on. No. Come on.
Well, no, we want a license. I mean, well, I mean, a dog license, I don't see why you would need one of those. I mean, registration, maybe, if it's like...
For something like a pit bull, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, not. I don't see why a license is necessary to own a dog. It's like, TV license or something. It's, that doesn't make any sense. But either way, look, I mean, this is the societies that we live within. It's not like these people aren't aware of it. Now, the fact that they can cite some spurious case that happened back in, ancient England in, 1805 or something, it has absolutely no relevance to modern day government operations, whether it's in the States or it's in any other, any other country that utilizes common law.
Yeah, but Cabby, my question is pretty simple. How exactly is playing the legal game like they play it every day terrorism?
Well, it's not. No, it's not. It's just annoying, really.
Well,
it's not terrorism.
No,
the problem is that they're conflating the idea that certain people who have committed sort of acts which have been, like shooting cops in the face, like those two, like the father and son did. They ended up in a shooting match with that police officer. I think it was in Arizona, wasn't it?
It's I don't know. It's in the SPLC website that I'm on. I could scroll up and look if you'd like.
Well, you know the one I mean. So but this idea that you know you can. These people have just conflated so many ideas into, you know, from so many different sources into this, and like I say, it's a creation anyway. It came about. It wasn't that long ago. It was when it started to really sort of get its roots. Was maybe back in the early 90s, and that's when this shit started, you know, being fermented, and then it really came into its fore, you know, around the 2000s.
Well, there is an issue with financial terrorism, and financial terrorism, when you're talking about things like ISIS and all that kind of stuff, they bomb some place and then fuel prices go up and blah, 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 blah. Now, I've made the argument years and years and years ago to a bunch of people who didn't fucking listen, is that, you know, the terrorists basically were trying to do basically what America did to the Russians just before the fall of the Berlin Wall, was basically make them broke. And you have a look at like the war on terrorism at the moment. Yeah, like America is in fucking debt hugely. They really can't afford fucking large scale warfare anymore, which is why Obama wanted to do small protracted conflicts. There's that kind of stuff, but it's a far fucking stretch from one monkey in Alabama who doesn't want to pay his fucking license to do that kind of thing. And then something that Cabbage brought up before was civil lawsuits and stuff like that. A lot of the laws that you do have try to prevent civil action from happening, and we've gone as far in Australia as to basically make it so hard to sue somebody that it's not even bloody worth it. And that's to try and free up the courts, because the courts do cost a lot of money. And this is my argument. This is my argument with
you can always go into arbitration. There are still arbitration panels.
Oh yeah, no.
There are alternatives to courts.
Yeah, you can still sue people in Australia. You can still go in arbitration. You can still fucking take it to court in a civil matter and all this kind of stuff. But they're trying to limit the amount of that. And this is my argument about the gay vote. Don't give the gays the same rights as the fucking married people, because what's going to happen? You know, Cecil and Cyril are going to meet each other, and then they're probably going to adopt a child. And then when they fucking find out that they fucking hate each other, which is what eventually will happen, now they're going to be flooding the courts, because we've already got fucking, you know, heterosexual people fucking already flooding the courts with their bullshit. Why do we need two Sheilas and two blokes doing the same thing over a kid that's not even theirs in the first place, you know?
Right. I don't know what this has got to do with sovereign citizenship.
No, it was going back to...
You're going way off fucking base, man.
No. It was going back to your comment about, like, you know, you can go, like, if there's a car accident and the cunt's not fucking licensed, then, you know, there's civil courts. That mainly a lot of the laws in, like, your civil matters and all that kind of stuff are trying to prevent people from actually taking it to court and using up the court's time and all that kind of shit.
Okay. Well, no, and here's another thing to go into. They say that a tactic that sovereign citizens use, and I know libertarians wouldn't do this, at least if they're a real libertarian, they wouldn't, but they file false liens on homes and false claims against people, and they once again use paperwork to clog the system, and it kind of gets through, and they end up stealing people's private property. That would be an issue, but how is that a sovereign citizen thing? Yeah, exactly. How is that a sovereign citizen thing?
Yeah, but and I'm going to say, does that ever really happen, or is that something which is just sort of reported to have happened, but with no citation or whatever?
It probably has.
FPLC doesn't give any citation. FBI might. We're going to go to them next.
Yeah,
every time I look into this stuff, and it's the same thing with that Robert Maynard, right? I mean, he was the ultimate little shyster. And this is, if you want to look at it as a conspiracy idea, it really is to identify who the, you know, radicals are, if you were going to look at it from that perspective, because it's a great way of rooting people out.
No, you'll find that it probably has happened, but you'll end up finding that the cunt who's at fault, like who ended up having to pay or went to jail or something like that, didn't pay their taxes in 20 years, and then they were growing weed in the back room and fucking doing shit like that.
Yeah, and then, you know, then they'll just spin it into something else. It's this whole thing it's very bizarre, but it is. I mean, you know, like you said, Mad, it kind of led to ANCAP. So, You see what I mean? It's like almost like a register. If you want to keep track of anyone who's a little bit on the fringe, good way of doing it.
You also got to consider too that in America it's still like based on the Westminster system, but fucking they allow things to get drawn out and stuff like that. You can I can't remember exactly who it was, but there was a case of a murder charged for about 25 years because he just kept on going through court over and over and over and over and over again. He did end up getting charged, and they finally just went, "Nah, fuck off, you're guilty. We've had enough of this." But like, I don't know about. I'm pretty sure the same thing happens in England, but in Australia, it's a kind of a thing that if you try and draw it out, there'll be and say, "No, fuck this. We're dealing with this today. We're going to make a decision, and whatever this decision sticks." Well, in America, you've got the luxury of just going through courts over and over and over and over again. That's where I see a lot of the sovereign citizens. Let's just flood them with information. Let's just try and make this too expensive for them to be bothered with, and then they might just let us go.
Yeah, they can't do that here because then it becomes what do they call it? Frivolous.
Yeah,
yeah. Once it becomes frivolous, then it's a case of no, enough's enough. Let's get it over with.
Yeah, and that actually was something that came about from an estate lawsuit that happened, and it lasted almost 200 years. And the only reason why they ended up fucking settling and giving up the lawsuit was because the family ran out of money. The family couldn't pay the lawsuit.
Wasn't it like the Vanderbilts or the Carnegies or something? It was like a really big family.
Yeah, something like that.
Big boys.
And basically, the lawyers end up fucking becoming the only beneficiaries of it because they bled the two families dry.
Exactly. Yeah, and they all ended up going away without a pot to piss in, and the lawyers were sitting there fat and happy.
Yep.
Yeah, ain't that always the way? Yeah, MADDS, tell us about the FBI.
The Flowers by Irene.
All right, yeah, I was looking at something on SP, yeah, Southern Poverty Law Center's thing about another group, but yeah, I'm loading up the FBI site now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? If you really want to look at a conspiracy, that's where it is. It's identifying these people, because as soon as people claim any of this sort of stuff or they register with any group, and ANCAP is just basically an extension of it. So people who, it's a great way of infiltrating these, rebellious youth.
Well, I'd just love to know how many of these fuckwit sovereign citizens are those we live off the grid, the preppers and all this, like, oh, yeah, we're off the grid and no one knows we're here and they don't know our guns and we've got food stores for 10 years. And But every time I drive down the road without a license, I get pulled up and then I go and tell them exactly who I am. And
you gotta love that.
But if you're in a little local community, just be like, oh, that's that's Jeffrey. He's a bit odd. We just let him drive. It's like, there's no point arresting him. He hasn't got a pot to piss in anyway.
All right, so I'm looking here. They're pretty much saying, okay, they're anti-government extremists who believe that even though they physically reside in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the U.S. As a result, they believe they don't have to answer to any government authority, including courts, taxing entities, motor vehicle departments, or law enforcement. Yeah, this causes all kinds of problems and crimes. For example, many sovereign citizens don't pay their taxes. They hold illegal courts and issue warrants for judges and police officers. Okay, all right. Who the fuck is holding secret courts and trying to arrest a police officer? Can you name me two fucking people? One guy might be just a crazy fucker. Give me two.
No, there's a couple of videos I've seen on YouTube where, like, they've actually gone into a police station. Like, actually, there was one on Live Leak where these two dumb cunts walked in with assault rifles to a police station, and then they wondered why they got pounced on.
Oh my God.
You guys tried to fucking book me for driving without a license, and we're here to arrest you and all this. And then next thing they know, they're surrounded by 10 cops with their guns drawn. It's like, yeah, put your guns down, put your guns down, fuck you, fuck you. I was watching this video
yes.
recently.
Oh, yes, but
like,
does might make right.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you dumb cunts, what did you think was going to happen out of this, you fucking retards?
Well, there was an American guy. I remember he was robbing a bank, and all he did was he put like felt tip on his, like marker pen on his face. Yeah, put a mask on. He just painted a mask on his face. Fucking moron. So they're not the sharpest blades. Let's be honest. I mean, most of the people. When was the last time you heard of some multi-millionaire? Like say. I mean, did Ken Lay try to use the sovereign citizen fucking argument? I don't think so. He
wouldn't have got away with it though.
But that's what I mean. It's a nonsense argument because it doesn't work. If it did work, then you'd have all of the the wealthiest people just committing all kinds of crimes and just saying, "Oh, sovereign citizen can't touch me."
Well, that's my argument. If the sovereign citizenship was real, and I've actually said this to someone who professed that they were a sovereign citizen when I made a comment on the sovereign citizen video, it's like, you dickhead, if everybody was in the same boat as you, don't you think everybody would be doing it?
Exactly. It's nonsense. That's why it's nonsense. It's absolute garbage. As I say, it really only came around about the 1990s. I started seeing this sort of shit, appearing. And it was when Robert Maynard did his presentation that people suddenly really took to it, because he went into a lot of detail. It's like an hour and a half of presentation, but then he went around doing tours and all that other stuff, and got it. It was doing like an Alex Jonesy kind of thing.
Now I have heard that paying income tax in America is something that they really can't enforce, and I've heard of. I don't know exactly how far they went because this is about 15 years ago when I saw this, but I don't know where they're at now. They might be in jail, but apparently they said that they just went to the tax department over in America and said, "Yep, no, we don't have to pay it, and you can't do shit." And then the tax department apparently went, "Yeah, you're right, so we can't."
Well, has anyone seen the? Have you anyone seen the Aaron Russo documentary? Yeah. Fucking hell, what's it called? Oh fuck!
But
Aaron Russo.
Not really, but just real quick, just going by the dealings I've had with the Australian tax department, there was a point there for about 8 years I hadn't done my taxes, and about 7 years into it, I just went, "Yeah, that's because I was working 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I never had a time to go." And they just went, "Whenever you can, it's fine. Don't worry." I never got a fine. I've never had any bad words. In fact, the Australian Tax Department, I reckon, out of just about anywhere in this place, is one of the best lot of people you can fucking deal with. And then when I finally did do my taxes, the only discrepancy was that they didn't realise that, well, this year I was working, this year I wasn't, and then they decided to fucking tax me for the year that I wasn't working, and I said, "Hang on, no. I didn't work that year, and that was for that year." And they go, "Oh, okay, no worries, we'll give you a full refund." And I got fucking $15,000 out of the tax department for 8 years. I never paid taxes.
No,
yeah, I've had rebates from the Inland Revenue. It's I got like about £1,000. It was about 10 years ago, I guess.
But they never.
The thing was, I didn't even know it was coming. It's not like as if I even applied for it or anything. It just popped up in the mail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but that's
a good day. That's a good day, but
they never chased me though. They never sort of went, "Oh, you owe us. You need to pay." Like currently, I actually do owe the tax department fucking $17,000, and I don't have to do a damn thing until I earn more than $60,000 a year, which I'm not doing. So.
Okay, well, we're gonna start talking about taxes here in a little bit, in the second hour. But
I remember it.
No,
Freedom to Fascism. Aaron Russo. Freedom to Fascism. It's a documentary.
I think I've read that or watched that. I have watched that. Yeah, no, Russo died. He had cancer, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, but he was also the director of Trading Places, mate. He did quite a few films. I mean, he was a
I know,
decent player on in Hollywood.
Okay, so the FBI go on to say that's just to be okay. No, actually, Okay, I stopped at paying taxes. They hold illegal courts that issue warrants for judges or police officers. They clog up the court system with frivolous lawsuits and liens against public officials to harass them. That's not illegal. It's not. You can make a lawsuit on anything. If you lose the lawsuit, you lose, but that's not illegal.
Yeah, but in order for anything to be legal, mate.
But that gets back to frivolism. Like, you know, if it's done just for the sake of being done, just to try and fucking tie them up and fucking all this, that comes under frivolous. And yeah.
Okay, like what CBS is doing to the fan fiction films that are being made about Star Trek. That kind of frivolous.
Not really.
What?
CBS attacking anybody for that tries to make a fucking fan film.
Prelude to Axanon. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Where like the YouTuber made a massive fucking fan fiction about a fictitious battle in Star Trek, and fucking CBS went and fucking went them. I mean, that's just stupid. I mean, like, they should have learnt from fucking George Lucas. And like Lucas, every time someone wanted to do a Star Wars fan fiction thing, he was like, "Okay, do you want us to help you?" CBS is like, "No, we own Star Trek and you can't do a damn thing." So fucking Prelude to Axanon got taken down. And fucking, I think they even got fucking copyright struck and all that shit.
Well, I heard that weren't they also looking to sue what's his name? You know, the Orville. Because when they first heard about it, they were planning on suing them.
Yeah, but that's something that they actually had a fucking foot in, because that did look like the comedy version of Star Trek right from the beginning. But also too, Red Dwarf almost fucking had their asses sued.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing Jean-Luc Picard, you know, saying that he was reaching
for his phone. Yeah, he was reaching for his phone, called a solicitor, and then he went, "Hang on a minute. Oh, this is funny. I see where it goes. No, I'm going to leave it alone."
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, as we're mentioning Star Trek, have you heard the shitstorm that Star Trek Discovery is currently going through? It's being sued by a guy who made a computer game called Discovery using Spore Drive, and he's claiming that they stole it off of him. And apparently, they might actually be in a lot more shit than we think.
That may be true, but you need to hear the full story of that when it does finally come out, because there was a dude
how is this AMCAP? How is it?
There was a dude.
MADDS is trying to do a stream about, you know, sovereign citizenship, and we've gone off to.
So let me take fucking 10 seconds. Shut the fuck up. There was a dude about 15 years after Return of the Jedi who tried to sue Lucas because he thought up Ewoks first and called them moon bears or some shit like that, and he lost. So you need to see the full story on that one.
True.
Well, moon bears. On that note, how the fuck is Cabby the voice of reason? Anyway,
exactly. It's a fucking sorry state of affairs when it comes to this.
Yeah, right. Okay. And they use fake money orders, personal checks, and the like at government agencies, banks, and businesses. Okay. From the SPLC website and even from this one, they're saying that they can't necessarily count how many sovereign citizens they are because they don't necessarily group together. But then they're treating them like they're grouped together. You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah, but it's like Antifa. It's the same thing. Like I said, it's almost like an activist group. That's how it started. If you go back and you actually look through the history of this, you know, sovereign citizen movement, it is a recruitment exercise. You know, you get the ground forces, and then you end up with the lunatics who end up trying to shoot cops and stuff. You know, and if you go back to the origin, it is no different than any other sort of little dragnet operation that would occur.
Well, you see, the whole thing about making their own bank checks and all this kind of stuff, that comes under securities fraud. Simple.
Well, no, and the FBI continues here. That's just the beginning. Not every action taken in the name of the sovereign citizen ideology is a crime, but the list of illegal actions committed by these groups, cells, and individuals is extensive. and puts them squarely on our radar. In addition to the above, sovereign citizens commit murder and physical assault. Wow, you jumped right to murder. That's nice, FBI.
That I'd like to see a citation.
You could have
no middle ground. Yeah, no middle ground.
Yeah, could have eased us into that, guys.
It's life or death. Damn it.
Threaten judges, law enforcement professionals, and government personnel. Impersonate police officers and diplomats. Okay, all right. How many crazy ANCAPs? How many crazy ANCAPs are walking into the embassy and going, "I'm Mr. Ambassador"? How are you?
Well, I have to
bring me my whiskey.
Where's my Ferrero Rocher?
I do have to bring up the Sharia police in England. There are areas in England where they've got cunts walking around in big groups and they've got little fucking vests on, and if you walk out of a pub and you're pissed, they'll beat the shit out of you.
No, they tried that, and no, they got put back in their place very quickly. No, that did happen for they really thought they could get away with it, and no, it was stopped immediately.
Isn't there parts of Birmingham that even the Met won't go into because? Yeah.
No, there were, but yeah, because they were trying to go out, and they were like, policing people drinking beer on on a bench or whatever. Well, like, that's not happening. That's definitely not going down. And the reason the police stopped it was because it just turned into a shit fest because people was beating the living shit out of these. I mean, it just kicked off an entire storm. I mean, it created sort of racial conflict.
Well, the Abos actually. Yeah, the Abos in Australia actually tried doing this, and this was mainly for fare evasion on trains. And there's Sydney Central Station, where it got to a point where an Abo wouldn't pay for his fine, and the transit police would walk up, say, "Where's your ticket?" "Ah, fuck you, butter, you can't touch me because I'm an Abo." And so the way we got around that was that they started employing Aboriginal transit coppers. "Hey, fuck you, butter, you can't touch me, I'm an Abo." So yeah, fuck you, butter, I'm an Abo too.
Oh, now here's a question for you, MADDS, on the sort of like the idea of sovereign citizen. What about the difference between an American citizen and an Indian? Because they have certain rights, like in the reservations and things like that. What happens when they go outside the reservation? Does it mean that they actually have to apply everyone else's rules because they know that
I can't answer that.
No, I can answer that easily. The answer is yes, and it's the same if I go onto a reservation. I have to abide by their laws, or they'll arrest me. And you don't want that.
Yeah, it is a similar thing. It is a similar thing with the Australian military police. On a military base, you're subject to military law and the military police and all that kind of stuff. But if you steal a gun and you're at home off the base, the military police can't actually just go up by themselves. They actually have to be accompanied by New South Wales Police.
Yeah, but you will end up in front of a military tribunal.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, that's the difference in the jurisdiction. Yeah, on Indian reservations, they've got their own laws and their own police and all this. And then a civilian copper going onto a reservation needs to be accompanied by elders and stuff like that. And But if the Indian is off the reservation, not in the literal term of it, but is away from their reservation and they do something wrong, then they're subject to whatever laws are pertinent to that town.
Yeah,
they can. They
so
can't.
Why is it that ANCAP some people can't distinguish between these? I mean, if you got it in your own country where you have reservations with legal systems, and so you can actually see that there are ways in which things are applied, and then the ANCAP say, well, we don't have to apply anything. We just call on common law, 1066 or the Magna Carta, as if it's some kind of some kind of shield. Doesn't work. I don't understand how they.
Well, I use.
That goes back to.
Because if you
go.
Sorry, MADDS, what were you saying?
Go.
Yeah, that goes back to the idea, though, of the Declaration of Independence. And I'll wave that like a fucking shield. That was straight treason in the eyes of your countrymen. To us, it was revolution. The idea that you can't reclaim your sovereignship is kind of a misnomer because it's been done, and it's been done recently.
Yeah.
Well,
No, but you weren't reclaiming the individual sovereignty. You're declaring yourselves an individual, like a separate nation. So it was a nationhood, which would be independent of Britain, which is perfectly sensible, and a good idea. Declaration of Independence.
Well, that goes to one man's terrorist is another man's revolutionary.
Yeah, exactly, because it was British. I mean, it was a civil war to all intents and purposes.
But it was a colony. It also goes back to one thing I said right at the beginning, which is where I get the general impression that they fucking feel that they're exempt from all laws and that the police can't do anything for them. But if you grab one by the scruff of the neck, they'd be screaming for the police. So do the laws apply to them or not?
Well, no, because I don't call the cops ever. But I'm not necessarily a sovereign citizen, but I probably agree with these guys more so than any of you guys.
But how much shit is going wrong for you, though?
I don't argue with the cops. I talk my way out of getting in trouble. But
no,
anyway.
I mean by say some individual cuts you off and you called him a fuckwit, and then he decided to stop at the set of lights, get out, and say, "Did you call me a fuckwit, motherfucker? Get out of the car, and I'll beat your ass."
You don't stop, or you grab your gun. But yeah, America. Sorry, we have guns.
America.
Yeah, but FBI goes on to say they use fake currency, passports, license plates, and driver's licenses. Now, okay, if you don't believe that you should be required to have a license, then aren't you kind of copping out by making a fake one? That's a cop out, right?
Yeah. That's something I brought up before, though. That's if you're not judged by the relevant bodies that you're competent to drive, then you could a lot of the videos I've seen. Now this is probably piss you off, Dodge, because I know you're a bit this way, but it's still in my eyes. You're driving impaired. And some cunts have been pulled up and they're like, dude, I can smell fucking weed in the car. And the cunt's holding a bloody joint or something like that. It's like, yeah, okay, that's about the same as drunk driving. Like, I'm a massive pisshead. And, I've driven drunk before and all this. I reckon I drive better when I am drunk. But fucking, same thing there. I can still get done. Yeah, I can still get done for fucking drink driving. So same thing with weed. It is a mentally impairing substance, and it can impair your ability to drive.
Yeah, but the difference is when you're smoking weed, you think you're doing 50 when you're doing 20. So the chances of hurting you is pretty slim.
Now, in a truck, if say for instance you're being followed by a dirty great big truck. I'm not talking about a pickup truck. I'm talking about a dirty, great big lorry. And the dude in front's been smoking weed and he sees the 60 sign and you're doing 90 and all of a sudden fucking he just drops down to 40 and you're like, I didn't expect that cunt to do that. Fuck. And now I've run over the top of the bastard.
Wait, you're in a 60 doing 90? I say it's the truck driver's fault. But no.
No. I mean, 90 going down to 60. So you're in a 90 zone, and then he sees a 60 sign. You're going down to 60, and then all of a sudden he drops to 40.
What is 90 kilometers an hour anyway? No, I digress.
Exactly. Yeah, stick with miles per hour.
It's about 85 miles an hour or something like that, or 70 miles an hour.
Anyway, what are you doing in a truck? Stop going in trucks.
But no,
I did that 10 years ago.
It continues on here. They engineer various white-collar scams, including mortgage fraud and so-called redemption schemes. Sovereign citizens are often confused with extremists from the militia movement. But while sovereign citizens sometimes use or buy illegal weapons, guns are secondary to their anti-government, anti-tax beliefs. On the other hand, guns and paramilitary training are paramount to militia groups. Militia?
Okay,
no,
Dodge.
Hang on.
Dodge, here's a question for you. Yeah, here's the question for you, Dodge. You say
hang on. I want to clarify this.
You're Mr. Local Banker. You're Mr. Local Banker, and you fucking gave $25,000 to some cunt. No. You gave some cunt $25,000 to buy a house, and then all of a sudden he turns around and goes, "That's civil forfeiture or some fucking bullshit law that I just made up, and I'm a sovereign citizen. I don't have to pay." Now you're $25,000 out of pocket.
I'm sorry,
Well,
Mad
that's
Dog,
what
that was
you-
fucking made me chuckle because I thought you said nuns. And I was like trying to work out what the fucking hell the Catholic Church has got to do with this now. It's like, how
just-
they dragging them in?
Just real quick, here's a funny fucking thing to do when you pull up to some place. You walk in and say, "Do you have a 5.5 foot tall penguin standing at the front?" And then when they go no, you just go, oh, "Fuck! I've run over a nun."
All right, so let's read off the 3 examples they have of the crimes, and then I can close the FBI thing down and take a look at the chat. In Sacramento, 2 sovereign citizens were convicted of running a fraudulent insurance scheme, operating outside state insurance regulatory guidelines. The men set up their own company and sold lifetime memberships to customers, promising to pay any accident claims against their members. The company collected millions of dollars, but paid out very few claims.
Yep.
A for effort, but who sided up a lifetime fucking health insurance policy?
Yeah, but look, there are
right.
people who sign up for alien abduction insurance. I mean, you know, it's like fucking shitloads of people. So, you know, don't be too surprised by the stupidity of humanity.
Hang on, Quinn, go ahead.
It's completely true about the whole alien abduction insurance. There was actually a big thing about that a while ago. Apparently, funny enough, I think it was Arizona was one of the worst places for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's something that's pretty funny. My Drogo brother, he fucking had a mad idea for fucking what was it? Rapture pet insurance. You pay him X amount of money per month just in case the rapture happens, and because he's a heathen that smokes dope and all this shit, he will look after your pets when you're gone up to heaven and stuff like that.
Wow.
Well, hey, look, there really are fucking retards out there.
All right, so let's go on to the second one because they're going to prove me wrong here. So props FBI, you got me. In Kansas City, 3 sovereign citizens were convicted of taking part in a conspiracy using phony diplomatic credentials. They charged customers between $450 and $2,000 for a diplomatic ID card.
Diplomatic immunity.
No, this is amazing. No, this is amazing. Which would bestow upon the holder sovereign status, meaning they would enjoy diplomatic immunity from paying taxes and from being stopped or arrested by law enforcement. So these weren't sovereign citizens; they were scamming the sovereign citizens. Come on now, get it right.
But that's exactly what they always have done. I mean, that's what these guys that end up shooting the cops and stuff. I mean, they were also doing pamphlets and leaflets and doing seminars and stuff. They're all creaming off each other, and they're all basically screwing each other with this false information that they're propagating. It's really it's a weird Ponzi scheme where everyone it's basically like, well, it's not really a Ponzi scheme. It's more just sort of like a fuck fest. Everyone's fucking each other. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and here's the last one. In Vegas, 4 men affiliated with the Sovereign Citizen Movement were arrested by the Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force on federal money laundering, tax evasion, and weapons charges. The investigation involved an undercover operation with 2 of the suspects allegedly laundering more than $1 million from what they believed was a bank fraud scheme. So either the undercover guy talked them into the scheme, or the feds got lucky. I mean, don't you think
they've
you'd
been
be
following?
fucking...
No, like I said, they've just been part of a group. I mean, that's the great thing about when you then they're easy to follow. That's what a sting operation, well, not really a sting, but an infiltration is all about. You identify characters. I mean, this is why the best way of locating people is to, set up an organization and see who joins. It's not difficult. I mean, it's old technique. It's it's as old as the test of time.
Well, no, and Reason Magazine put out an article laying out the the wild accusations that the FBI and SPLC have been making, but we've pointed them out, so I'm not going to read that rather long article. So I'm going to shut that down real quick and step away. So Quinn, talk a little bit. What do you think? Is this a vast conspiracy, or do the sovereign citizens have a point, or are they just crazy nut jobs like Cabby thinks?
I'm not saying that there's I'm not saying they're total mental nut jobs. I just think that they've been very poorly led, misled by information.
Yeah, I don't think that they're crazy nut jobs.
Same as the ANCAP.
They're just fucking idiots who think they can but shouldn't.
Yeah, they're looking for shortcuts. They're looking for ways out of things. It just seems like a bunch of lazy people. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to spend my money the way you tell me to. I'm just they're like spoiled children, really. Really spoiled children.
They're the kind of people who, I don't have to pay a tax for fucking ambulance services in my area, but I expect an ambulance to rock up when. I don't have to pay a tax for the fire department, but I expect the fire department to show up when. I don't have to pay a license fee for driving a car, but I also expect that I don't have to follow the road rules as well, because I'm a special little individual.
Mm-hmm. It is really snowflake.
And it's usually you find that these people are also to the lowest rungs of the ladder. They don't really have any money at all. They're living in some fucking hovel. I need to feel special about myself. I need to feel special about myself.
That's the thing. That's why when they introduced the idea that your birth certificate is also a bank account, that's when they suddenly got an awful lot of people subscribing to this idea. It was like, oh well, I'm actually worth $10 million. That's so I can now just go out and be a loon.
I think that's a false assumption, and I'll tell you why. It's very expensive in the United States to keep filing court documents and to actually do the paper terrorism they're talking about. That costs money.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay, well, if they're just crazy people in their little hovel, how do they have the money for this?
Well, see, it doesn't cost anything to actually start.
That's not true. No, you have to pay for all the court paperwork and everything, even if you're representing yourself.
No.
You have to pay filing fees.
Hang on. Yeah, no. If you're not found at fault, then you don't have to pay. It's the other people that do.
It's America, mate. It's very different.
No.
It's not like no win, no fee thing.
It's the same thing. No. It's the same thing. Like, say, for instance, if I sued Dodge and I won, then Dodge has to pay my legal fees and all that kind of shit too.
No, but like I said,
only if you include that in the lawsuit.
And of course they would.
It's different legal systems in the US than in Britain and Australia. I mean, Britain and Australia have different legal systems.
Yeah, but do you think they're not dumb enough to fucking include that in the thing? So, like, if I sue Dodge and I win, he has to pay my legal fees and all that.
Well, because then it would be international law, because you would be suing somebody across international borders. It would be a very different thing.
No, it's like what Dodge said.
More expensive.
No, it's like what Dodge said. It had to be part of the lawsuit, and that'll be a standard thing in the lawsuit.
Yeah, but okay, if you're suing the government though, and you're trying to represent yourself, you are paying all the filing fees for your lawsuit, which can get quite expensive, especially if you're filing a bunch of documents trying to gum up the system like they accuse these people of doing. This is going to get very expensive.
Yeah, it's a lottery. It's a lottery win.
But Mad Dodge, the judge still has the right. I mean, the frivolous, cases can be dismissed. I mean, that can be done. I mean, why aren't the judges doing that then? If they know it's a frivolous case, just throw it out.
Because they just keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. I didn't agree with the last judge. I want a retrial. I didn't agree with that guy. I don't want a retrial.
Yeah, but exactly. So eventually you're going to end up bankrupting whoever it is who keeps coming in and keep filing the charges if they're having to pay for it.
But it's a similar thing with the bail system with us, is that, like, you know, if the judge says, oh, well, you did this, so you get fucking 6 months in jail, you can instantly go, okay, no, I want a retrial. And then everything gets put off until the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one.
No, that's not how it works.
That's the case.
Yeah, no, you get like sometimes they'll let you go home for a while and then show up to jail or whatever, or prison, but not usually. Usually, like, bam, you're guilty. They walk you out. You head to jail. Then you can get a hold of a lawyer, and while you're behind bars, do your appeal.
That's a criminal thing. But in civil states, though, it's you can continue it on and on and on and on. You don't really pay it until the end. And that's what they're bargaining on. They're bargaining on the whole, oh, we can continue this on until the courts go, well, it's cost us too much money.
Sorry, no, it's bullshit. No, because you're dealing with a legal firm who's actually having to stump up the time to put the documents in. The legal firm's not going to sit there and just say, well, we're never going to charge you until we get a result. Of course they're not. You know, I mean, they're working on profit margins. It's like anyone else.
And that's
once
where
you become a liability, then, you know, they're just going to drop your case and say you're a pain in the arse.
That's where no win, no pay fucking firms will look at your case right at the beginning and go, no, we can't win that. We're not going to even bother.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are dumb cunts in America that will sue for fucking slipping on a fucking floor and shit like that.
But the idea that they're going to continue and continue and continue, it doesn't make any sense, because eventually this becomes a liability to the law firm.
Well, if that wasn't the case, then why would the sovereign citizens continue to do so?
Well, yeah, but that's the point. The sovereign citizens are not sane, and they don't do it because they always represent themselves. They don't even go to a law firm. They still have to present documents.
Yeah, exactly. And my argument would be that they're not all poor in their hovels with nothing better to do. Especially if they're manufacturing their own license plates that somewhat look real, like the FBI is saying. They're creating false identification.
Yeah, well, that's fraud.
Passports.
That's flat out fraud, though.
Yeah.
That contravenes so many laws.
Well, it is what it is, but I'm saying they're not poor. Yeah, but they're not broke.
Yeah, but the
crazy people in the woods.
But here's a weird one. Why would you forge a number plate when you don't think a number plate is necessary anyway?
That was my point, because my point is, if you're actually arguing on principles, then good for you. But you're not arguing on principles if you're going to fake what they say you need. You might as well just go get what you need.
To fake something like that determines, to me, just from where I come from, that they know that what they're doing is wrong, and they're trying to contravene laws that they do fucking come under by doing something to try and evade the police.
That's what I'm saying. That this is what it's just basically, you know, people trying to get away with something. It's got nothing to do with the idea that it's got some greater good, or like, I mean, ANCAP or whatever. I mean, at least that sort of pseudo fucking, you know, political.
Yeah,
but
if you're gonna make the argument,
just a joke.
Yeah, if you're gonna make the argument on principled grounds, saying, "Hey, I didn't consent to be governed by this government. I would like to institute my own with like-minded people or on my own," then you would stand on principles and drive your car without a license plate or a license. When you get pulled over, you would let them take your car, you'd buy a new car and start the process over again. Whatever, because you care about principle, not fucking getting away with it.
As we've ascertained,
you wouldn't drive on the road. You see, the off-road car development would increase dramatically. Can you imagine how good the off-road cars would be if everyone was there?
As we've ascertained, though, that they don't have the money to fucking buy themselves out of a trailer park, let alone buy new cars every second day.
Well, you know, there's technicalities, mate. Just technicalities.
Okay, Tema in the chat says, actually, and she must be serious. It's all capital, you know, capitals.
She's yelling at you.
Seriously.
Shut up, woman. Stop yelling.
Actually, they make license plates that are supposed to be official from their own nation. I guess that's a good point. All right, I could buy that. All right.
Yeah, but what nation do they declare? Because I thought the whole point was that they were meant to be sovereign citizens of total, you know, individuality.
Well, I can answer real quick, Cabby. On that FBI website, they had pictures of the fake license plates on the side. If you go back in the stream, you can see it. And the top one said Republic of Texas on it, and stuff like that. So a lot of this might not necessarily be sovereign citizens, as in I want to be by myself alone, but more like secessionists, like the Cascadia movement or the New California Republic movement.
You see now that I can understand, that I can respect, that makes sense, right? I mean, like, if Texas wanted to become a Lone Star state, and declare itself independent, I could understand that. Perfectly reasonable. No problem. It'd be like, it's like Britain declaring itself independent from Europe.
Actually, I've heard it quite a bit of Texans saying that they want their own fucking independent state. They want to be independent from America.
But that's different than this horseshit that they're talking about, like the ANCAP thing and, the whole sovereign citizen thing. Because at the end of the day, you're still associating yourself with some kind of nation, unless you're just saying, I'm a total individual and I can do anything I want, and you can't touch me, and I'm a special snowflake. So, and by the way, I've got an infinite bank account. It's fucking retarded.
That goes back to something, the term you mentioned before, the free man thing. That's another thing that I've heard a lot about sovereign citizens. I'm a free man. I'm free from everything, all laws and taxes and all this kind of that. No, you're not.
Yeah, like I'm a free man of the land. That's what
if I'm only a member of the bloody public and not a fucking citizen or a community member or something like that, then you're not fucking free either. Because if I do something wrong at an incident or something like that, I'm still up to fucking laws and fucking regulations and fucking negligence and this, that, and the other thing. So you're not me, motherfucker. You're even worse.
Well, it's, you're going down to the purely individual level, right? It's just like, I'm just worried about my issues. And
that's what they do.
It's actually, weirdly enough, it's what Jordan Peterson is promoting, which is not a really good idea. I mean, you still need a society. Society doesn't equal socialism. Society just means that people try and get along with each other. Yeah, it's not a complicated concept.
That's what I've seen from the sovereign citizen movement. Is it's all individual. No, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to stop smoking weed when I drive a car. I don't have to have a license. I can fucking drive 30 over in a fucking 40 zone. I can do this, and no. But me personally, I'm not this individual. I'm not that entity. I'm not that corporation. I am at the same time.
It's like a little kid who's trying to get out of they got caught for something and trying to use a technicality.
Did you piss on the lounge? No, Dolly did it.
That's right. Trying to use a technicality. It's like, well, I didn't do it. Well, who did? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It could have been the dog.
But you didn't say that I was driving. You said that I was traveling. Oh, well, I am emerging.
Okay, all right. Yeah. No, we've repeated that point before. All right, I already heard that point. But here's the thing. You could say they are acting like petulant children because that's all we see on the YouTube videos. Okay, gotcha. But is that really what their belief system dictates? Because if you want to be separate from the United States government and all the comforts that it grants you and all the privileges that it grants you, which are many, then you want to be completely separate, which means you don't want to use the currency. You don't want to fucking obey by the laws, but then you pretty much want to isolate yourself out in the woods somewhere.
But
or whatever, you own your own property. You want to sit there. I mean,
that's the lunacy of it.
I guarantee you.
Hey, let me finish.
Hang on.
Oi, let me finish. Damn it. All right.
Hurry up.
If you are not going to pay taxes or be involved in the government at all, that means you have no right or or even you wouldn't even think about calling the cops. So ultimately, you're taking ultimate responsibility for yourself and your own actions and your own family at the end, right? If you're standing by principle.
Yeah. But what does that mean? I mean, you're saying you're standing by principle, but you're still going to rely on a society. Yeah, but you're still going to rely on society because where are you going to get your bulbs from? Where are you going to get your fuses from? Where are you going to get your,
don't have them.
Where are you going to get the
build
car?
All
that
right,
house
so
in the
you're
middle.
going to go back to what? You're going to have to start digging up your own coal and things so that you can. I mean, come on.
I
it's
have no
fucking
idea,
possible.
Cabbage,
You're
but
still
you have
part of the
to.
community.
You have to you have to have the courage of your own convictions, Cabbage. If you want to be separate from the government and go live in the woods and try and hide in the national forest, which can be done, ask the fucking drug traffickers.
Yeah,
They do it
okay,
all the
yeah.
time.
So it can be done, but the point is that when you do that, does that dismiss? I mean, like, so you're saying that those people, well, that's fine if they're not driving on the roads and they're not like participating in society. If they're just living their life, then yeah, leave them alone. As far as I'm concerned, fine. They're not bothering anybody.
But
Right,
the thing
but
of it
people
is,
who drive on the roads without
but they
paying for
are
stuff.
bothering. But they are bothering
Who are
people,
they
Cabby.
bothering?
They would be in national forest land, which it would be illegal to homestead. They would also not be paying taxes, which even if you don't work, you have to report to the government that you didn't work every year. They would be breaking many laws, Cabbage. The government would be interested in them,
So,
even if they're not interested in the government.
okay, let's put it
Well,
this
yeah,
way.
but that's
right?
the whole point, right? They know that they live in a society, and when they go and do that and they think they can get away with it, they should know better. Now, if they want to live that kind of lifestyle, then there's a way that they could plan their lives so that they could live, a relatively, separate existence, like, off the grid or whatever. But there's no need for them to actually act in that sort of manner. Again, it's just this fucking snowflake thing. This idea that I can just get away with anything and do anything I want because I'm this.
That's something I was going to bring up too, because most of the sovereign citizens that I've seen on these videos are weedy little tiny fuckers who couldn't punch their way out of a wet paper bag. And if they were driving without a license and no insurance and all this kind of stuff, and they did something stupid on the road and hit my car, dude, I don't have to pay you because I'm a excuse me, motherfucker. And I just grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and started punching shit out of him. I guarantee you, they'll be calling the police straight away. And they're the kinds of people that I don't want to pay into the fire service or the fucking ambos or the police or anything.
Yeah, we've been through that. Okay, yeah, we know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the hypocrisy of it. Yeah, this is the whole hypocrisy of people who claim that.
Them having a gun doesn't really mean the fact that they're going to have the gun when they're having their head kicked in. Yeah, but they're going to fucking call for some cunt with one. I've been on both ends of this. I've seen, like, I've paid me taxes and all this. There was a weekend during the rural fire service where I spent $60,000 of taxpayers' money, and I was just given a blank check and just went off and said, go do this. And I did that, and I love doing that. I love spending taxpayers' money, and fucking. There are reasons for them being there. And these kinds of cunts who don't want to pay into that, but fucking still think that they are rightfully fucking to be in the same system as us, can go get fucked, honestly.
Yeah, well, I can also understand the idea that people don't want the overreach. But it's the point at which, like, a lot of people don't like paying excessive taxes. Which is perfectly reasonable, right? Because you want to get value for money. That's what taxes are meant to be for, right? It's kind of like bulk purchasing. You're getting, you're getting warehouse prices instead of your retail price. That's what you want to talk about.
Since you want to talk about taxes so bad, let's dive right into it. Taxation is theft. And what I mean by that is the income tax is unconstitutional and illegal. I am with the the anti-tax people. I'm with them. They're right.
But
you remember that bill you brought up, Captain? Show me the law. They couldn't show them the law, could they?
Okay, so you drive down the road to your supermarket. You're driving on a road that's paid by public taxes. You call 911. You get an ambulance to rock up to your place, or fire brigades, or police.
We have more taxes than just the income tax, Farty. I'm not going to let you steamroll over me and just act like we have to pay for the fucking sweat on our brow. You're digging a fucking trench for $8 an hour.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Hang on.
No, Farty, you've done nothing but talk. So let fucking Matt. He's barely said anything, and it's his stream.
That's funny coming from you.
Yeah, it is, exactly. So therefore you should listen to it.
Okay,
Go ahead, Farty. You could respond.
you're the only one that's paying the taxes, right? And you don't think it's fair.
I try to help you, and now you let me down. Bollocks.
But
Fuck you.
but every other cunt doesn't want to pay taxes. So why should they get the fire brigade? Why should they get the ambulance? Why should they drive down the road?
Oh my God, man. What part of in the United States government we didn't have a fucking federal income tax until 1913? You don't understand. How did they have roads before then? They came out of fucking unicorn poop? They just fucking magically appeared? I mean, fucking hell, man.
They didn't have highways and roads and shit before 1913 because cars weren't really a thing.
They didn't have.
They didn't have the gigantic railroad. That gigantic railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast just didn't exist, right? That wasn't there.
That was not at all. Not at all. I'll let Cabbage do this one. Go.
Yeah. Well, no, there's an interesting one because the Vanderbilts, they managed to choke the whole of the New York economy by closing one of the bridges.
Privately operated.
Yeah, exactly. So they basically said, no, you can't use our bridge. And so they choked all of the incoming produce and things. It was, they basically held the city to siege.
See, Dodge, most of the infrastructure you've got right now was built by the Army Corps of Engineers back in the 50s. So who paid them?
You do understand there are corporate taxes, there are property taxes, there are fucking licensing taxes, licensing fees. When you get pulled over, that goes into the local economy for the local city governments. I can name a million fucking taxes. All I want is one gone, the federal income tax, and I'm the crazy guy in the room. Whatever.
Hang on.
No, I agree with you, Matt. That, I mean, originally it was tariffs, wasn't it? It was corporate tax. So it was done on trade between states and and
what did they raise in the United States this year? What Trump raise? Oh, that magical tariff. I bet they didn't lower the federal income tax now, did they?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's always a way. You know that prices always go up; they never come down.
Okay, Dodge.
It's only
I just got one thing for you, Dodge. You reckon that's that easy? You go be the treasurer of the United States.
Yeah, that's a real ad hominem thing.
I'll take the job. I'll take the job. Damn right, I'll take the job. IRS are eliminated. Bye. Federal Reserve, fuck off. Hey, gold standard, you're back. Oh, currency stabilizing. That's nice. Raise the tariff to a suitable international tariff level and eliminate the fucking IRS and the fucking income tax. There we go.
It'd be lovely if that's easy. Let MC go. I know he's going to fucking
No. Weirdly enough, that's exactly what's going on with Brexit at the moment, is that we're doing effectively the same thing by going into WTO, rules. So we don't have to deal with any of the other externalized influences. We just, apply tariffs according to world trade.
Yeah, but you don't. So
we're doing effectively that.
You don't have 52 states, and you're not America.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, but we are still the 5th largest economy on the planet. So it's still
America survived before the income tax. It will survive after. Government needs to shrink anyway. Lower their tax money. Go bollocks.
No, it is
bollocks.
The idea of lowering their tax money is going to lower their spending is silly.
Go MC.
If they don't have it, if they don't have the money to spend, and they can't spend it,
really?
Can they? No.
Go on.
How far in debt are we?
Rex.
Get rid of the fucking Federal Reserve and make them spend within their means.
Are we in debt or not?
Yep.
Then they can't spend money they don't have. And they have been spending money they don't have at an ever exorbitant rate. They've been doing it.
Yeah, did you not hear that report by the comptroller of the U.S. control? He did a documentary about it. Oh God, that U.S.
Sick him, Rex.
U.S. fucking hell.
Sick him, Rex. Go on, sick him, Rex.
And while I would like to see the federal government reduced in size, and I've been calling for it repeatedly, all right, and I'm not a fan of the federal income tax. SCOTUS ruled on it. Guess what? Whether something's unconstitutional or not, is determined by SCOTUS rulings, not you, not me, not Freddie down the street.
Yeah, but if I'm an individual and I'm special, then I should get treated differently. Because
if you don't pay your taxes, you can fuck off out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
911 doesn't have to respond to your house.
The hospital in the United States has nothing to do with taxes or not taxes.
Yeah,
You see, this is the kind of retarded bullshit.
How many local taxes do you have?
Oh, dozens.
Dozens. How many state taxes? Hundreds.
There are lots of problems. I said before, the federal government in revenue takes in 3.7 right now. Currently, the United States Treasury last year took in $3.7 trillion. That's what they took in, and we're still $700 billion over that in spending.
And well, yeah, the trade deficit.
It's not the trade deficit.
Well, this goes back.
You got to add that in as well, you know.
This goes back to something.
It's pretty fucking significant.
This goes back to something we were talking about not even a week ago, where fucking the mayor of New York wants to put his fucking bullshit fucking Medicare plan in. How's he going to pay for it? How's he going to pay for it? How's he going to pay for it? Oh, I don't know. Every cunt needs to pay for it.
Well, you know, that's how taxes work.
The fucking migrants, the fucking undocumented, the migrants, the undocumented, the fucking cunts who live there, the fucking people who say they live there but don't because of a tax break, fucking all these other cunts. Every cunt's got to pay for that shit. And what's that called? Oh, it's a tax, isn't it? Oh, shit.
All right, so here's a chart of the debt. I couldn't get all the way back to 1913, which is what I wanted, but it goes back to 95. What's this little dip here, MC? You mean they can't lower the debt?
Which debt are you looking for?
I want to know.
95. No, hang on. That was Clinton. No, you can't be doing the Clinton thing.
No. Blame Barry Obama for fucking shit spending and stuff.
Right now, what I'm looking at is the UK national debt.
No, yeah.
Oh, UK. I thought it was US. I typed in US. My bad. Okay.
No, Jesus, there's your debt. Is American that different from fucking British?
Shut the fuck up.
You fuck off.
God damn.
I didn't say fuck off. I said shut up.
You fuck off.
Whatever. You sound Scottish now.
Hey, you fuck off, you goddamn.
Yeah. Okay.
I am part Scottish too. My asshole.
Okay, we all have our cross to bear. All right, where were we?
There, this is better. Okay. U.S. government debt seemed pretty low before the federal income tax. Oh, wait, where's 1910? Oh, look at the debt, MC. Oh, it dropped a little bit. Oh, fucking hell.
Well, what did you have? What did you have at the end, right at the beginning of the 1920s?
What I am saying is when they instituted the income tax, they had more.
Question. Simple. What did you have at that point?
You can't really include the Depression for that kind of shit. I mean, like, we had the same shit out here. Like we had
shut up. Let them talk. Let them speak amongst each other.
I'm not talking about the Depression.
No. In the 1970s in Australia, we got Gough Whitlam, who fucking like lowered taxes and then just gave cunts money like fuck. And it took us 12 years just to pay that off. Then we got the Labor Party again. Now we're $3 billion in debt again. How'd that work? Oh, Labor Party.
Once again, what did you have after the right toward the end of the 1910s?
What are you talking about, the Roaring 20s or whatever?
No, I'm not talking about the Roaring.
No, then just say, because I know
you
what my point
have World War One. That spike happened because of World War One. Notice
that
where the next spike is. The next big one.
Yeah, 1940 to 1950, and then 2000 to 2015.
What did you have in the 1940s?
All of British's money.
No, we didn't get Britain's money until the 60s and 70s, which allowed us to bring the debt down.
That's when they paid it off.
We paid for your 1950s boom days.
Yeah,
you already had the gold that went over to Canada.
Right. Between the 50s and the 60s, our debt went down.
50s and 60s.
I'm saying that
your blood money.
The politicians got used to new influx from the federal income tax, and then they spent accordingly. Now continued to spend accordingly. You take that away from them, and you start.
How are you going to take that power away from them without a convention of states?
The monster. Well, I don't know, because you can't even get these politicians to fucking.
It's your representative. It's the people's.
It's not my representatives.
I like it or not.
No one represents him.
It's not your representative. I'll bet your representative is one of the biggest spenders there is.
He's a sovereign citizen.
Not the representative from my district. Okay, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I'm not a big fan of Oregon politics.
So let's get back to reality here. Whether you like it or not, calling something unconstitutional because you don't like it, especially when there's been a SCOTUS ruling on it, doesn't solve anything. It doesn't.
You know what? From the man that I hear bitch about the fucking Supreme Court all the goddamn time, backing them up pisses me off.
I don't understand that the Supreme Court, whether you like it or not, is constitutional, and they are the people that are selected as the arbiters of it. I don't like a lot of the rulings. I say that the rulings are wrong. Okay, but I don't say that the rulings are unconstitutional.
I want to I see that hanging Chad. I want to recount, motherfucker.
Recount.
I got a pregnant Chad. Yeah, no abortion.
I don't like a lot of the rulings of the Supreme Court. I don't like a lot of court rulings. You still got to abide by them.
And I do apologize for the fuck up, but I had the UK one up there. My bad. But hey, I fixed it quickly.
That's all right, mate. Don't worry. No offense taken.
Your guys' debt went up too, though. Where are you? Fucking come on, help me out, Captain.
Hey, what? Hey, I've been trying, mate. You don't want to help yourself.
You notice though, MC jumped in after I was done ranting. I guess that's good. Probably didn't need both of us yelling at the same time.
Priming himself, wasn't he? Like a coiled spring ready to.
I wasn't priming myself. I was at work. I apologize. Well, no, I don't apologize for being at work. Work is
God,
work.
You fucking taxpayer, you fucking parasite.
I'm just a corporate slave.
Well, no, and I'm catching up with the chat here, and damn, it's going kind of fast because I haven't been on here. Somebody said get rid of the EPA as well. I'm with that.
You're not going to. I won't argue with that. But in order to actually do this, and I agree that the federal government is spending way too much money, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to call a convention of states and remove the power and remove the money from the federal government. There's no other way to do it. I understand, your fear about a convention of states. I truly do understand it, but you know what? You're not going to do it any other way.
What? We can't all just be sovereign citizens?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what that's going to lead to. It's going to lead to a balkanization of the United States. It's going to, which will then eventually lead to the destruction of the U.S.
What do you think? Because I know you've been in the chat for a little while, and we're heading towards the end of the show. I'm done ranting about taxes, guys. I'm calm again. But MC, what do you think about the whole sovereign citizen thing? I know you probably think they're crazy whack jobs, but are they terrorists like the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law Center are saying? I don't think they're terrorists.
Some of them are, but that's not. They're not. Just because someone says they're a sovereign citizen doesn't mean they're a terrorist. But they are an extremist group. They don't recognize the authority of the United States. And as a result, their actions, all right, can lead to very many detrimental things. The fact that they're trying to print their own money, the fact that they're ignoring the laws. Yeah, in areas where there's a lot of room to do that, they can get away with it. But at some point in time, just that function of itself, where they're going to sit up there and say, well, you know what, I'm going to ignore the laws I don't like, and the U.S. doesn't have any sovereignty, is going to lead directly to conflict. It can't be otherwise. It's going to have to lead to conflict at some point, and that conflict is going to be an armed type of conflict. There's no other way. In order for you to be a sovereign citizen, in order for a country to exist, it has to be able to physically defend its borders. That's what you're saying as a sovereign citizen. I'm going to defend myself. Okay, what happens when they start to defend themselves?
MC, I was saying this earlier. This thing stemmed out of this idea of, an Englishman home is his castle. This idea that your property is, you can defend it by any means necessary.
Okay. Are they staying?
But that's where it sort of stems out.
Are they staying in their castle?
Exactly. Once they venture out, then they venture out into other people's rules.
No, this comes back to a story I heard about this place called Gunsville, Illinois, and apparently there you're not allowed to walk out in the public without being armed. And the story I saw, they asked someone, a resident, okay, so what happens if something happens on your front lawn? So easy, you shoot them and then drag them inside the house, and then it's all good.
Well, I think that I think they might realize that they're drag marks.
You just created a point of interest for where Jensen wants to move to.
He just got himself a free lunch.
Well, I'd like to go there too. I wouldn't mind, a place where they say you have to be armed. Oh, yes, sweet.
Well, 40. That's kind of a joke, though, gun owners have, like, especially in stand your ground states. Like here in Oregon, someone breaks in my house, I could blow their head off and call the cops. I'm probably going to be all right. But if we're outside, then, the joke is, just drag them onto the porch. That's good enough. I mean, it's just kind of a joke, dude.
Well, we sort of have that kind of a right out here, too. I mean, like, there was a friend of mine who owned a DVD store, a rental store in Sydney.
We're not even allowed sports.
Yeah, and there was this one dude who took umbrage on me because I made a comment about the person that he was trying to root. Yeah, okay. So I knew the village idiot, and I knew she was collecting VDs like Pokemon. Got to collect them all. And I just said to this bloke, I hope you had your shots. And he had a fucking sook. But like it was a couple of days later, he decided to have a really big cry at me, and I was behind the counter. And everyone said, well, why didn't you do anything? It's like, well, that's simple. He was that side of the counter. I was this side of the counter. If he came around the other side, then I could beat the bejesus out of him.
Yeah. How's that relevant to anything?
Well, I'm reading the chat.
Everyone who's not drunk will figure that out.
And Karen Marine says, I guess a group of Karen Marine says in the chat, I guess a group of libertarians tried it, built up an island with homes and businesses. When they announced their new nation, the nearest Navy-owning nation took them over. The libertarians didn't have guns? I mean, what kind of self-respecting libertarian builds an island and doesn't even own a gun?
Well, in this case, you better own a battleship. Because you can
I got
a gun. Okay.
Hey,
MC.
Real quick, MC. Isn't the old Enterprise in mothballs? Can we buy one of those?
Sure.
Just a little.
Nah, she's been broken.
You can do it.
No,
you can buy Harrier jump jets if you can afford the price.
There's a city there's a city being built, which is massive ship effectively. It's got golf courses on the top and everything else. You look it up, it has actually been sponsored. They're building it at the moment. It's basically a city, and the idea is that it's for all the people who want to avoid taxes, so they can live in a tax haven, and they just float around the world, in international waters.
Yeah, that's where your maritime law actually does come into effect. But just on the thing with buying fighter jets and all this kind of stuff, we have a place in southern New South Wales called Temora, and it's a aviation museum, and everything flies, and they do have jets. And I asked them, well, why don't you buy a Phantom? Because Australia did have Phantoms just before we got the F-111. And they basically said, well, because we've got to go through America, and the Yanks don't like to sell off their fucking old shit to civilians and stuff
they
like
got
that.
boneyards. MC lives next to one.
I know. And this brings me on to another thing where I technically actually sort of kinda, as a far stretch, worked for Buffalo Airways in the Northwest Territories in Canada, where they were looking for parts for, what was it? The civilian version of the Orion. And we're actually getting rid of our Orions at the moment, and P8 Poseidons, and they basically wanted ancillary parts. They didn't want all the electronics in the inside. They wanted ailerons and wing parts and engine parts and wheels and shit like that.
All right. Well, get on with it.
Shut up. Go through me, and I'll keep a lookout. And when they're selling them off, I'll let you know. And they shut the fuck up. They said that they wanted to, but this is like fucking getting on about 7 years ago now. So I don't think that they're still operating. But yeah, no, like it had to go through. Like I was even going to go through AMROC, which is the boneyard, and they've got dozens of P3 Orions sitting there doing fucking nothing.
If they consider you a U.S. citizen, the U.S. government will sell. Also, I mean, there are people that can buy F-16s.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he got a Harrier jump jet, didn't he?
I don't know if he bought one. I do know that they have had jump jets or Harriers for sale in the past.
Yeah.
I know that they sell F5s all the time.
It depends on who you are and what you're doing with it. If you're like,
they do look at that. They don't have to sell it to you.
Yeah, but remember that demilitarized, right? They don't have the weapons enabled or anything like that.
That is correct. They do not have the weapon. They do not have the weapon systems on them or the targeting.
It has purely avionics. That's all you get. You have
it is highly illegal to equip it that way.
But then again, you could sell it to a Warsaw country, a former Warsaw country, and like you buy 10 dozen Phantoms, and then upgrade them with the newest radar, the phase.
Well, if you're gonna buy Phantoms, the first thing you better buy is a freaking gun. You better and figure out
the Phantoms. Yeah, but that was early times in Vietnam. I mean, they did learn their lesson. They put a gun on it eventually.
Yeah, the E model.
Yeah. It was a bit late though, wasn't it? I mean, they should have fucking worked that out earlier.
But the Blue Fox radar the Phantoms came with is
anyway. What the fuck has this got to do with ANCAPs and?
Well, we were answering the question that MADDS asked, which was how come they didn't arm themselves?
Oh, really? We ended up with Phantoms and boneyards.
Well, they're going to have at some point in time. They're going to actually have to do something, all right, to arm themselves.
Well,
even that island that you've been talking about, with the floating island, at some point is going to have to take action to where they are going to have to defend themselves. If you're going to declare yourself a sovereign entity, right, or a sovereign city or a sovereign nation of some sort, then you better be able to. You're going to.
That's the whole point about it.
This is
the whole point. There is no sovereignty with that boat. It's basically you are an autonomous, independent.
This is where an area.
Basically,
this is an area. This is an area where, Cabbage, you need to be sober to do this because you forget your own question. You asked how they're going to arm themselves, and MC answered the question. It's like, they can buy Harriers.
Theoretically they can, but like, as you said earlier on, most of these people haven't got a pot to piss in, so where are they going to buy a fucking Harrier for?
But that's how that's how we were answering your question about, they're going to buy fucking Harriers. Like,
exactly. I'm just saying.
The question,
and I just also rebutted your explanation.
All right. Damn it. Now. Look at this, militarymachine.com. aircraft for sale. You guys can unmute yourself if you'll fucking listen to me for a minute. MC, you want to buy this old Russian era fighter? Soviet era fighter?
The Su-27 is not really a great.
It's not old. That's top of the line, pretty much.
I've been trying to help you.
Su-27, the Sukhoi 27s, they had all sorts of issues. I don't think you'd want a Sukhoi 27. An F-104 you definitely don't want either.
Oh
yeah,
no.
Look at that fucking. What the fuck? I don't. Yeah,
that plane had the moniker of the Widowmaker.
Well, that's because you guys.
Let's buy the MiG.
The MiGs, the MiG-21 is actually a very robust fighter, although it's not. It doesn't have a lot of the avionics that you exist with today.
Actually, a lot of Middle Eastern and South African forces have actually upgraded them to like the MiG-21 MS or some shit like that, which is like it's going to be another 20-year-old fighter by the time it ends.
Yeah, one of the best ones is the F-18. If you can find one of those,
hey,
definitely get one.
That's only 150,000. If I win the lottery, I'm owning a MiG. All right, I'm redoing fucking Top Gun.
All right, now,
great.
Go down a little further. There's a Harrier.
Here's the thing: like at the end of the Berlin Wall, right? You had a lot of former Russian states. Yeah, former Russian states who were selling off like MiG-15s, MiG-17s, and MiG-19s, and you, as a private citizen in America, could buy MiG-15, 17, or a 19, and it would come with the 23mm guns, the 57mm cannon, and a couple of missiles. Of course, the ATF would take those things out of the plane before you actually inherited it. But yeah, you could do that back in the day, back in the 90s.
Oh shit! Hey, Cabby, you remember we were talking about how the hell we're gonna get Rosie O'Donnell and all these bitches out of America?
You're gonna need more than a B-29, dude.
Yeah.
Buy an Antonov.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bunker busters.
You could. I mean, there's plenty of things. The if you want a nimble little jet, these F-5s are it.
Yep. And
no, it's like the Hawker Hunter. The Hawker Hunter is brilliant.
Yeah, but it's below Mark. It's sub-Mark.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it's in and out. Yeah. But it's in and out, and it is so maneuverable.
Yeah, no, the F-5 is a way better aircraft because it's Mark 1.9 aircraft from memory.
Well, here's my question then.
Yeah,
MC.
You've got to go supersonic. It's not important.
Well, I could buy this F-5, right? Where the fuck am I gonna fly it? I'm going 1,000 miles per hour. Like I'm gonna be popping up on military radar. Shit.
You can only fly it over your house. That's it. Just over your house.
Here's a fun fact about the M5. A lot of long-range cruise missile technology came from the F5's engines because the engines were small in this thing. And it was actually the precursor to the F-18 because Northrop actually did the YF-17, which went up against, it went in the trials for the F-16. And the F-16 was taken over the YF-17, and then Northrop got bought out by McDonnell Douglas, who beefed up a YF-17, turned it in the F-18. And that's how you got that.
And you see...
The F-17
no sovereign citizen would have contributed to it.
But the F-17 doesn't have a radar. It doesn't have the ground-looking radar or all the technological things. It is literally basically a P-51 with missiles, pretty much.
Okay, but now, question number 2. I set up a flight plan and everything, right? Mm-hmm. I'm headed to Russia with my F-5. Why am I headed to Russia? Because I want those missiles. Because I know America is going to take those. So is Russia going to be okay with me landing an F-5 at the Moscow International?
Hey, you're a sovereign citizen, mate. You got immunity, right? No, don't forget, you got diplomatic immunity. So they got to take you, right? They must
see the thing with the thing with 9/11 truthers is they don't understand how air intercept fucking. Shut the fuck up.
Fuck off. MC, what were you going to say?
All right, go MC, and then I'll fucking explain what I was going to explain. Go MC.
Shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
Flying this to Russia would depend a whole lot on the range of this thing. I don't think the range of an F5 is enough to fly it to Russia, at least in one hop. So you're going to have to do a multiple mid-stops. You're going to have to ask lots of questions or get permission from a number of different countries to land your fighter to begin with. And then you're going to have to pay for the fuel to hop it on over.
Yep. Yeah, and if, say, for instance, you launched it out of Germany, for example, which would kind of give you the range to get to some sort of airbase, they would launch a couple of MiGs and shit, and they'd fly up against you and go, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? Land where we want you to land. You wouldn't get shot down straight away.
Well, I don't know.
By the way, what's showing here in this picture is not UH-1s, because UH-1s have just a two-bladed. It's just a two-bladed system. It's not a multi.
These are UH-205 EXLs.
Well, for $500,000, they're not even showing me the correct picture. What the fuck?
No, you said these are the Vietnam version, like the Vietnam fucking Iroquois, the Bell 215, Bell 205s, but they've been given like 2 engines instead of 1. Wait. Oh god, a Gnat! Oh
yeah,
my god!
No, and I got a joke for this. We found Memes' fucking little yellow fucking fighter plane. There we go.
That's a trainer. It's a trainer. It's not a fighter. It's a trainer. That's it.
No, that's Memes' little. That's his buddy.
It was made by the British, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's a trainer. That's it. It's a trainer. It's a fast jet trainer. That's it. It's what you go from propellered aircraft, then you go into this thing, and then you go into the tornadoes or typhoons and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, Saab Draken. No, those are good. Those are good. They got short landing capabilities and all sorts of shit.
No range.
I'm gonna go down to that here in a second. But hey, these are only 200,000. I mean, we're getting closer here. I mean, oh wow, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, your Gnat is like the MiG-15.
Yeah, but I mean, but okay, MADDS, right? So you get 1 Harrier, right? Let's say you get 1 Harrier, and somebody donates it, so you don't even have to pay for it. Well, you still got to fuel it. So what the fuck are you going to do against the society?
You're probably going to crash before anything else, because the Harrier was renowned for being the hardest plane to fly ever.
Well, no, it was originally, but not the modern ones, because they have
the modern technology is a lot better.
That's the AV-8B.
Yeah, well, it controls the. They have a much better.
They're selling tornadoes.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah. And tornadoes are good.
Yes.
They got good ride height. Yes. They got good ride height control. Yeah.
Okay, go down more. You got another Alpha Jet, which is like the French
version of the Gnat. This isn't even the deep web. We didn't even have to go into fucking Onion for this.
Yeah, the difference between the Gnat. Hang on, the difference.
On the
a Thunderbird. The difference between a Gnat and a fucking Alpha Jet is the Alpha Jet can actually work in combat. It's actually got hard points for guns and bombs and stuff like that. They were designed as like a secondary offensive aircraft.
Okay. Well, you keep bringing up the armaments, but you don't get those. So, how do they disassemble the guns and the missile and all that shit? Do they just take the missiles and you still have the launcher?
Well, there's an entire electronic system. There's a separate electronic system. Like you have the aero. What's the term?
Yeah, but Cabby, can't you take one of these old jets, hook up a fucking laptop somehow if you're really fucking smart, and have your own fucking?
No, you could. Maybe with a few Arduinos and a Pi or two.
You're trying to incorporate digital technology with analog. You see the bulge underneath the Alpha Jets. That's where the gun pod used to be, and they'd take the wing pylons and all that kind of stuff, and probably get you to weld up the hard points.
Yeah, but I mean, technically, yes, but technically, you could create another one if you want. If you really
you would have to. The easiest thing to do would be to rebuild your own, would be to build your own type of.
Not so much. Not so much. Not so much.
What I mean by that is if you're going to modify this to add weapon systems instead of using the original weapon systems, you'd be better off
you'd have to invent
modernizing your own weapon systems to place on there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need the original weapon system in order to make a weapon system.
But the hard
make one that works for what you're going to use.
The hard points are hard points.
Yeah, the hard points on the wings are the things you got to worry about because there's a lot of
you can modify
structure.
them.
Yeah, you could. That's just way too stupid. Like, say, for instance, the T-35, for example, that could carry drop tanks and all that kind of stuff. But they'd weld up the hard points so you couldn't actually put pylons and drop tanks and all that kind of shit on it. Then to go around that, you would basically be redesigning a very stupidly big part of the wing.
People, they drill out guns, blank firing guns, normal guns which have been made to be blank fire. And they drill them out and they turn them into active weapons. I mean, that there's plenty of ways you can reutilize what the actual structure is.
I think we found the bargain bin, guys. But then it's only $1,000 or $100,000, dude.
Yeah,
but then there's
no reason nobody flies them. They suck in Korea.
Oh no shit! Yeah, no, but
why are you ignoring helicopters? Nobody's allowing for helicopters. Surely that's the best option if you're, a standalone sovereign citizen. I mean, there is
a drilling out the barrel thing. Like I had a 40mm Bofors gun. That was given by I ended up getting this off of fucking Bundina Retired Servicemen's League Club. They had it as a gate guard pretty much, and they couldn't get rid of it, so they gave it to me. Now to get the fucking concrete out of the barrel and all this kind of stuff was a massive pain in the ass. But I still need to get the ammo for it. Now I went to another RS.
Take that out. Well, take that out with you just need to use an acid. And it will
but to get the ammo for it as a civilian, like I went to another RSL club and I almost bought an 85mm mortar off them, and all that had was a cap welded on the top, and you just 10 minutes with an angle grinder, no problems. But to get the ammunition for it, I had to import that from South Africa, and good luck trying to get that into Australia.
Hey, here's a Harrier
ammunition.
It's not saying though how much the Harrier is, but they can be found on the open
That's a GR Mark III, and you probably wouldn't want that one. No. See the long nose on it. The long nose tells me it's a GR Mark III, and the only reason why that nose is the way that it is was from the SNEB rockets that it used to fire. That's the only reason why the imager is on the front. And if you can get SNEB rockets, then cool, it'll work. Yay, no problems. But
like you said, but it won't matter because all of those parts will be removed because of no launching. Then you make your own.
They stopped making.
That's the point about retro design.
Skyhawk.
Wait, does it only launch one rocket at a time through the nose?
No, not through the nose. No, these are rocket pods on the wings.
I see.
Like the SNEB rocket stopped being made in 1994 or something like that. So yeah, good luck getting them. The A4 Skyhawk. Now that's something that actually has been bought by a bunch of private organisations, and they do a air combat thing. There's an actual mob in America that actually does private fucking air combat fucking training for the US military.
No, I'm reading it though. I'm reading it though, and this sounds like a bad idea. The fuel tanks are in the wings. MC, isn't that a bad idea?
No.
Not really.
They always are.
What are you talking?
That's normal.
Yeah,
that's normal.
No. You look at the A10. The reason why the A10 has its engines the way it is because it's away from the fuel.
Yeah, but the majority, I mean, the 99.9% of planes have fuel in their wings.
Exactly.
Well, is it in or is it carried under?
No, there
No,
isn't.
it's in it.
Really?
It's actually in the wings. I mean, they have it, but it's sort of like a sort of.
Oh, they used it to
It's
download
like
it, or-
it's like a honeycomb.
I don't know, guys.
No,
I think
no.
I'm gonna if I win the lottery, I think I'm gonna go Russian and go with the MiG-29 here. I like it.
Mad Dog,
No,
why don't
you
you
want
go with the
that
helicopters?
That's 30-year-old technology. You don't want to go
Mad
there.
Dog, why aren't you looking at the helicopters?
Most
Look at the
aircraft-
helicopters. What helicopters are there?
I'm scrolling through the list. There was one helicopter on there, but I'm just scrolling through the list, dude. That's all I'm doing.
Most aircraft have
Get
their
a
fuel in
Hind.
the wings.
Hinds are good.
The fighter aircraft, most of them have their fuel in the wings, and most of them also carry extended fuel tanks under the wings.
Yeah.
So when you
Hey.
when you see something that doesn't look like a bomb but looks like a bomb, then it's a fuel tank.
Okay, fair enough. It just sounded like a bad idea in a fighter, but they don't use guns that often anymore, so I guess it doesn't
No,
matter.
they've always used drop tanks.
But no, this MiG-29 is a steel R05. I'll hit you back.
See, the whole thing with the fuel tanks in the wing kind of thingy-doodle is the whole thing with the F-35. And the F-35 is designed to be stealthy, which means you can't hang things off the wings because everything that hangs off the wings is a radar return. So you either need to...
The F-35 is a pig anyway.
No shit. The F-35, you're either carrying all your munitions internally or you're carrying fuel internally. So you have to pick whichever one. Don't give a fuck about this Super Cruise bullshit because I've seen the
No, that's the problem. It doesn't work. No. The F-22 had Super Cruise. No, the F-22 had Super Cruise. The F-35 doesn't. I mean, that's the whole point. They dropped all the good stuff.
The F-22 is a much larger airplane and can carry.
But it's a much better one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's a much better fucking aircraft.
I know.
I mean, the F-35 is a pig.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you here, dude. I'm with you.
No, I get you, buddy.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you want to carry a full weapons load on an F-35, you need to sling fuel under the wing. If you don't want to carry fuel under the wing, then you need to sling weapons under the wing. Either way, it fucks its stealth capabilities. So, you know, the Mohawk, that's another plane that I really like too, but for some reason there's never any documentaries.
Now you want that big bastard? You know the one? What was that one? MC? You reminded me. The big bastard. It just
it's Kiwi DC3.
It's like a battleship. It just has guns coming out of every fucking orifice.
Oh, an AC-130.
Yeah, that's the one.
Spooky.
It's fucking crazy, that thing.
The AC-130s are
spooky.
It is. It's like the battleship of the.
Oh, it's the Flying Fortress.
It's brilliant. It's fucking nuts.
It's not meant for a flying fortress. For a ground attack.
Yeah, no. As
the Flying Fortress, you don't want to fly by you.
It looks good. I tell you what, that fucking thing.
It can put a bullet, a 30 caliber bullet, every 4 inches in a football field in one pass.
You've mentioned that.
Yeah, but
you wouldn't want to see one of them coming over the horizon, would you?
Last time I remember, and
this is a bad day.
Specifying a particular use.
Not if it had bad intent. No, no, trying to save your ass. You're gonna be like, thank God, here it is.
All right.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, if we want to get Rosie out of the country, will the DC-3 work? It's a little bit bigger than the other one.
No. Yeah, you're gonna need a DC.
No, get an Airbus.
Oh, she's a U.S. citizen.
No, you're going to need a DC-10 just for the weight capabilities.
But as about sovereign citizens, there's no such thing as a U.S. citizen, so therefore we don't recognize their authority.
So you recognize sovereign citizens?
I mean, that's what this whole thing started as.
As for normal fighter aircraft, like, you know, you got your F-18s and your F-15Es, for example. We've had a plan in place for God knows like 30 fucking years of the EF versions of certain aircraft, EF-18, EF-111, EF fucking 15.
Eurofighter.
Shut up. Yeah, no. where basically they have a electronic jamming pod, and then when the technology gets better, you just unbolt a pod and then put a new pod on. You don't worry about the fucking airframe and all this kind of shit. This is where I don't get the F-35. Like, why do we need a stealth technology that can already be fucking detected by fucking World War II style radar? Like, why don't we just go the way? Oh, exactly. That's the reason why the F-35 is a piece of shit.
Hold on. Wait. So MC, didn't we sell some F-35s to Canada or France?
Yeah, with no engines.
You sold them to every gun.
The engine isn't an add-on.
Every gun. No, you sold them to every gun.
We sold a lot of them, to be honest. We sold them. We sold them to Israel too.
You sold them to us as well.
And Israel immediately used them.
We bought
and one got shut down.
We wanted the F-22s, and you wouldn't sell them to us. Why wouldn't you sell us the F-22s, which is the one we wanted?
Took toys for ourselves.
Yeah, well,
Japan wants something like an F-22, but a mediary between the F-22 and the F-35, because they know for a fact that they need the range, but the F-35 can't do it. So they want the F-22.
Well, no, but that's the whole point. The F-22, exactly.
They want an F-22 variant that can land on a carrier. They've made that very
exactly. But that's the point, right? But the F-22 has got the it's still got the what do you call it? You know, with the you can vary the jet. No, the varied jet. No, it can be used for short takeoff because of the jet. Nozzle.
Like the afterburners or something.
Yeah, correct. Well, that's what I saw about the F-35 at air shows, is that they need the afterburner a lot. They need the afterburner a lot.
Yeah, but the F-22 works on Super Cruise. The F-35 is the one that has to use the fucking boost.
Yeah, they need the afterburner a lot.
And that's hungry. That's hungry.
No shit.
You know, it's burning a lot of fuel. So that shortens its range.
Shit. Well, if you're going to incorporate vertical takeoff in a thing that's supposed to replace the F-22, if all of a sudden you're like, this is very hungry, what else can we give it to? Let's give it stealth.
But that's what we learned.
Seriously,
that's the thing that we learned with the Harrier, though. That's what we learned with the Harrier. The Harrier can vertically take off, but you're going to use half your fuel load to do it. And you can't actually stick a shit ton of shit under the wings and make
Which is why we created the launch pad. You know, like the
short takeoff fucking ski ramp.
Exactly. You put the ski ramp in, and then they can.
Well, it's like the old RC cars and stuff. You have to put it on the charging stand, and then it just like shoots it off.
Okay.
No,
all right.
Not really. But
all right. So I thought I could geek out on Star Trek. You guys on fucking airplanes. Jesus Christ.
No. I was just about to point out, like,
bring up
surprising we have 4 or 5 guys here just so we're like, ooh, machines.
No. Dodge, you bring up the F-35, man, you're going to start an argument.
Okay, well,
and most of us are going to agree with it, though. That's the thing. Like, we're going to start an argument. So, this is shit, and this is shit, and this is shit too, and this is shit as well.
Well, yeah, but MC should be defending the military at this point. I mean,
he can't even do that.
The F-35.
No,
he can't.
Well, here's the thing. As far as tactical capability goes, if the U.S. already has, like, the F-16, the F-22, and all these other things to fill in gaps, the F-35, as far as a military perspective, doesn't necessarily make the most sense for the U.S.
It does. It could. If you're looking at it in terms of exports.
No, absolutely. No, cabbage. That's the thing. How much air power do other air forces have around the world?
I don't care about other air forces. I'm talking about my fucking private libertarian island fucking air force. Now,
well, this is why I accept you. You should have a helicopter, not a plane.
You need a couple of umbrellas and Galileo's portrait.
We're shopping, okay? This Spitfire here is 2.5 million euros. What do you guys think?
Well, Spitfire, you can't go wrong with that. It's, at least if you're going to die in style.
No, well, it's a kind of like the classic car thing, man. Like, okay, it might have been worth about $2,000 nowadays when it was first thing, but now it's worth $12,000 because it's in good nick.
Look, the Spitfire is the E-type of aeroplanes. Beautiful.
And your Corvette, your Corsair is your Corvette. That was a lovely.
Corvette's American. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, you want to talk.
He's looking at what we're looking at now.
Yeah. You want to talk about your classic car, but the airplanes version. There's only 50 of these left in the United States. It's 4.1 million. With only 50 or just shy of 50 left, if I was a millionaire, I'd be buying one. That's an investment right there.
Well, your Corsairs came in World War II and they could outfly most of the Japanese. Oh, Sea Fury. Yeah, no, that's something that's worth a lot.
Not only could they outfly it, they were actually tough. The problem was landing on carriers.
Exactly. Yeah, they had a really big bad thing about, like, because of the nose of them, they were so far ahead. And it
took the British to teach us how to land them on carriers.
Yeah, and the Americans just didn't bother. They just went, nah, fuck it, we'll give them to all the Marines and they'll land on fucking islands and stuff like that. But the Sea Fury is the last Australian aircraft to actually shoot something down, and that was because some dude went and started his little aeroplane up on a fucking airfield somewhere, and it just ran away from him. And it took off, and fucking the Royal Australian Navy, running Sea Furies, was the ones that were tasked to go and shoot the damn thing down because no one knew where it was going.
They shot down a runaway plane.
Yep. That was the last air combat. Well, basically the only thing that. We did shoot a couple of MiGs down with these things during Korea.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this. A highly renovated Sea Fury was the crown of the fastest Sea Fury ever. A Title One in 2006. It's only 750,000. Not bad.
Yeah,
well, at all.
Also too, the Sea Fury during the Korean War actually got a couple of MiG kills.
Oh no! If I wasn't demonetized before, now I am. Let's talk about the Nazi fighter here.
That rocket one. The rocket thing, yeah.
Hispano. That's actually the Spanish version of that one. If you look at the movie The Battle of Britain, the Heinkel 111s and the Messerschmitts that were in the Battle of Britain, the movie, are actually Spanish versions.
Yeah, but they had the sort of rocket launch thing. I know the one that Matt's talking about. It's freaky creation.
Hey, the Phantom.
I want one. 3.95 million. I want one.
Yeah, but the trouble is, when they land, if you don't dump your fuel before you land, you're gonna have to bounce because there's no landing gear. And just hope there's no vapors, otherwise the whole thing explodes.
Did you say there's no landing gear?
Yeah, no landing gear. None.
What?
Yeah.
How does it take off?
Well, it takes off on a launcher, and then the rocket. Then they hit the rocket.
The Phantom.
And it's
no, the Phantom's wrong.
No. This was a German thing. You know, the German rocket.
Oh, the 162.
The
162. The next plane he's going to show.
Yeah.
We're looking at the Phantom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not talking
about the Phantom. Well, like seriously, this Phantom looks pretty sweet. But Mach 2,
it'll cost you a fortune in fuel.
I'd kill myself, dude. Like, I don't have one of those suits, right? You can't go that fast.
Well, if you're spending $5 million
Mach 2?
on a plane,
Jesus, the SR-71 went Mach 3.
Yeah, but don't you need one of those fucking suits or whatever? The fucking
no,
if you're spending that
but
much
the
money,
suit doesn't protect you.
suit.
The suit's only
G
for the
suit,
oxygen and stuff.
You need a G suit, but
a
like
G
the
suit,
Phantom.
that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
No, you don't need a G suit particularly.
With the Phantom, it'll cost you about $1 million to go 3,000 kilometers. The ME-262, that's
600,000.
They're making reproductions of those. Now the problem with the ME,
who the fuck buys a reproduction of a fucking aeroplane?
because the original,
people have way too much money.
You know, the original had Arado engines which didn't use titanium inserts and all this kind of
But
stuff.
who's buying them?
The engines themselves lasted 10 hours. That's it. And then they blow themselves to bits. As the reason why Hitler didn't win World War II, because these things didn't have the reliability of modern day fighters.
Oh no, there's plenty of reasons. I mean, his manufacturing and stuff was so ridiculous. I mean, like, you know, creating remember the tank, the Tiny, that fucking mistake.
But
he was off on so many fucking different projects and nobody knew what the fuck was going on. And none of it was well managed.
Cabbage, but if the one hell of a drug.
Yeah, but if the ME-262 had actual reliable jet engines and all this kind of stuff, then they wouldn't spend so much time on the ground, and they would be actually up there killing all the bombers, which is what they were designed for.
No, I mean, they had a lot of good designs and stuff, but the thing is, he just went off in all different kind of directions. You know, it's like, oh, let's build the biggest tank possible. Let's build the, most ridiculous thing that we can create.
Yeah, but we're not talking about World War II necessarily, and
no, we're talking about sovereign citizens.
But we're looking at a P-38.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I don't understand where sovereign citizenship has been part of this for the last fucking hour and a half.
No, not an hour and a half.
C-46.
That's cool.
Hour.
Texans.
Oh, that's ugly.
No, Texans are still flying en masse. Like, that's one of those planes that just lasted and lasted and lasted. Texan. In actual fact, the movie Tora, they used Texans as zeros.
All right. There we go. That's it with the airplanes. Memes, you weren't around for the sovereign citizen talk.
Should have Falcon.
But no, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't know. Are sovereign citizens crazy, Cabby? Or are they just made out to be crazy?
No, I just think, the people who just think they can get away with something if they use that as an excuse.
And if anybody wants to check out those airplanes, once again, that was militarymachine.com /aircraft-4-sale. It seems like a cool website. No, they didn't sponsor me. I just stumbled upon it.
Link in the description below.
But no, thanks for jumping in, Memes. Even though you weren't here for very long. Thank you, Farty. It's been a pleasure, guys. Good night, good luck, and don't go to France without a yellow vest. Unless you're Memes. Memes, you can go get mugged. No.
What?